Hello there, and welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 665 of the Agostinho Zinga show with your host, Agostinho Zinga. This is episode number 665, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in Bermuda. Who knows? Who knows? But thank you for joining me on this lovely, beautiful day. How am I? How have I been? Pretty good, all things considering. I cannot complain. I cannot complain. There are some things I could complain about, which I probably will end up complaining about because this is the number one cultural commentary podcast in the world, and part of, a major part of commentary is complaining about crap. Complaining about crap and being upset about things and offering absolutely no solutions is the path to win when you are the number one cultural commentator in the world. And I guess I'm up there. I really do guess I'm up there. But hopefully you guys are fine wherever you are and wherever you are hearing this. I've had a very jam-packed and busy day. Most of it surrounded going to the gym and running loads of errands and working and all that good stuff, and my body is sore as a judge. I ended up doing loads of really heavy lifts in the gym, and then I ended up kind of finishing it off with eight 200-meter sprints on the treadmill, which was absolutely brutal. I was doing them on the road quite often, but today I thought, you know what, let me just do it at the end of my workout to kind of round it out, because I like to be in and out in like about 45 minutes to an hour. And usually if I do my deadlifts, push presses, back squats, power cleans, bench presses and deadlifts and stuff, usually I can get out of the gym within 45 minutes. But when I added the running at the end of it, it totaled up to about an hour 10, which is probably the longest I've been in the gym for the most time. I think so. It honestly is the most time I've actually been in the gym. I tried to get in and out about an hour, but I was in it for about an hour 20 minutes. Pretty brutal, but you know what, we got the work done. So the Alton Mason summer that I need is definitely coming up rather soon, and I'm really happy about that. Apart from that, what else has been going on with me? Not really much, to be honest. Like I said, I'm on this nice little Berghain kind of 6-week training camp where I'm going to be relatively clean for the next 6 weeks, in kind of anticipation for me going to Berghain hopefully by the end of May. There's a little big date happening on the 25th that I'm really happy and really excited to go to, especially because it features one of my favorite labels, one of my favorite labels called Toy Tonics. They're going to be out there, so I can't wait to kind of get out there and go boogie and see what the vibe is saying. So I'm really looking forward to doing that when I get there. So I want to put myself in the best physical condition possible to get out there, be snatched up, as the chat is saying, throwing up the shapes. I want to do that thing where I have my hands in the air and a little bit of my t-shirt rises up and you can see that V. That's what I want. I want to be able to put my hands in the air like this, and when my shirt rises up, you just see the little crevice on the side. You know what I mean? That's all I want. That's all I want. That's my dream, my number one dream. I'm gonna have my little chain on, my little choker chain, right? Gripping my flipping throat, right? Like I'm into some kinky stuff. I'm gonna have my chain gripping on. I'm gonna have my hands in the air. I'm going to be looking from left to right, giving it all that, and people are going to be loving it, and I'm going to be loving it too. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun, honestly. I'm really looking forward to it. So that's what I'm doing for the next couple of weeks or so keeping it fairly clean and being basically a good lad for the next few weeks. It should be pretty good, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, big up everybody tuning in, big up the chat, thank you for joining in with me. I see a lot of the usuals here. Big up Uche Koila, Natashki, Marty Moose, I see Dark Web J here, I see MMA Johnny, all the big ones are in here. Big up everybody for joining in. I appreciate every single one of you for joining in and hearing me rant and rave about all this dumb stuff. So big up you. First of all, first update to take a look at, right, is this update. First update to take a look about is this, talking about football. We have just briefly, it just keeps getting worse and worse for United fans and myself, of course. Man United issue Martinez and Varane update. So just to kind of, save you the flipping read, essentially Raphael Varane, one of our star centre-backs, along with Lisandro Martinez, who have made a real big impact this season, are both out injured. Varane is out injured for 3 weeks, but Lisandro Martinez, his season is over. He broke a metatarsal bone in his body, in his foot, and he is done for the season. So two of our starting centre backs, the ones who kind of gave us the foundation to build on so that we could be this free-flowing attacking team out for the entire season. So we're now going to have to rely on this absolutely massive headed £80 million of a waste of a player, Harry Maguire, who's allegedly our captain. This oaf, this absolute ugly oaf, is going to be the one that's going to be leading our back line. And he's crap. He's so bad. He's slow. He's like he's slow. He's tall, but he's very slow. He's physical, but he always gets wrestled off of the ball. The only thing he's good at is heading the ball clear from defensive line, but everything else has been horrible. And the fact that we haven't rotated him that much, it also means that when he does eventually play, he's not going to be on form. He's not going to be confident. So we've got a double whammy there happening. So United fans the world over are crying, myself included. Our season is done, and most probably we're not going to finish in the top four anymore. The top four is over for United fan. The top four is over. It really, really is. Let me just double check what the table is saying. But essentially, the top four is over. There's no chance that United are ever going to finish in the top four to get Champions League football, I don't think, especially considering how close it is. Already it's kind of close. United are fourth with 56 points. Tottenham are only fifth with 53, and Villa are 47, and they're already on the charge. But if we start dropping points because we have to play Harry Maguire in defence, it's going to be bloody peak. So that's the one thing that kind of got under my bonnet. But what can I do about that? Pretty much nothing. So I'm going to be watching us, I'm going to be crying, and I'm going to be hoping there's a miracle where Varane is able to kind of come back a little bit sooner than the 3 weeks, and hopefully he doesn't get injured again. At least we'll have at least one world-class defender playing at the back, and we'll have to rely on Harry Maguire and Lindelof or somebody, or God forbid a Phil Jones. So I'm really scared about that, really worried, but hey, it kind of is what it is, and hopefully it gets better soon. Moving on from that, and just jumping straight into stuff, because I need to talk about this, because I think this is super fascinating. So I've been kind of keeping my eye on the No Jumper kind of drama that's been going on, because I'm a fan of No Jumper to begin with. I was a fan of No Jumper platform before it went tits up, or even before the hype, because I always thought their interviews, especially when Adam22 was doing in the beginning, and the podcasts they'd have were really entertaining. It kind of gave you a different perspective on what life was like in LA, because my LA sort of like perspective only came from stand-up comedians, and those guys are all old white dudes who are kind of uncool. It's not really the best endorsement to kind of seeing what regular life for people who maybe come from the same place I do over here in the UK live like over there. So No Jumper podcast and the platform overall is what gave me that. And then of course over time they then ended up being a platform that kind of highlighted and sort of shone a light on all these kind of up and coming rappers from the kind of SoundCloud era. You think of XXXTentacion and a few other people who kind of got famous on that platform, and that was really good to kind of see their ascent to stardom kind of documented in real time. You see them in the vlogs, and then you see them on the podcast, and then you see them do shows together. Even someone like I can't think of the guy's name now, but loads of them anyway, all kind of connected to No Jumper. So I've been a big fan of them overall. But this new iteration of No Jumper that's kind of fizzled out, then turned into this whole like drama reality TV thing. Even though it kind of helped to boost No Jumper's profile and kind of gave them resuscitated them as a platform, because I feel like they were kind of dying or on life support for a while. But then Adam22 kind of had this idea of bringing on these extra or other co-hosts who weren't associated with the brand at all on the platform, and were just people that he kind of liked or he kind of wanted to give a shot. And it started off with AD, then he had a few other people like internal, like House Phone working there, who was kind of associated with No Jumper, and he had a show and all these other things. And they kind of slowly started to build it out until they got to a point where Adam decided to go buy a building and they'd have all these shows housed under kind of one sort of like network. But then over time, unfortunately, Adam's personality, his kind of thirst and desire for having views over anything, really kind of butted heads with a lot of those guys who are from the streets. They have a different way of kind of navigating life, different protocols, different things they kind of stand on, and those kind of conflicts, and that, you know, him coming from the, you know, clicks by any means, DJ Vlad, TMZ type of thing, and those guys coming from the streets, or just having morals and principles and not wanting to be hoed out, it kind of just clashed, and it kind of eventually all fell down. Now, the kind of fallout from it has been fascinating to watch. Fascinating, because at the core of it, you could say they've all contributed to some part in their own ways to No Jumper basically dying a very slow death. because now everybody's basically left, and the only people there now is that fat fuck Flacco, Yuri, of course, who is bloody essentially Adam 22's cock holster, and of course Sharp, who's a bit of a solid guy who's kind of stood there. Everyone else basically left. One of the funny things about this, to kind of view from the outside and as a fan, is that I felt like everybody had a part to blame, had a part to play in the blame game of like how it kind of fell out. But for some reason, Adam 22, who plays a very considerable part in kind of, he has a very considerable part of the blame to kind of take, doesn't want to take it, doesn't want to say sorry, and just generally is unaware of how his actions may have impacted other people who are on that platform, especially if those other people are friends. He just doesn't seem to understand it or comprehend it. So one thing I want to play here, I've got a few clips I want to play back to back, but the first clip I want to get up is Adam 22 sitting down with Sharp on No Jumper for, I think, an episode of Sharp Tank. I think it is, I'm not too sure, but essentially they sit down and kind of hash it out and talk about what happened and kind of just clear the air. And one of the clips I thought was quite interesting to kind of pull up is this along on the main video, which is around 24:10 minutes. I'm going to just cue it up here on my side. It's around 24:10, where essentially Adam 22 asks Sharp why he didn't leave, because he was kind of feeling pressured at the time to leave also, because everybody that was black essentially was leaving. So he kind of felt a bit of the pressure. So he kind of asked him why he didn't leave, and then I'm kind of going to go in a bit of my commentary as well. So this is Sharp talking about why he decided not to leave No Jumper, even though everybody else left, because they felt somewhat betrayed by Adam 22, disrespected, not acknowledged, blah blah blah. This is Sharp's opinion of why he stayed.
Like, what? We didn't know. This is the most popular thing out right now.
Well, what I'm describing is probably not that out of the ordinary. So it probably happens all the time.
For real, man.
So celebrities, like, they probably got to deal with that shit all the time. But anyway, okay, here's a question that I wanted to ask you. You obviously had a lot of people kind of trying to put pressure on you, acting like you were supposed to leave No Jumper too. What was the Sharp thought process when hearing all that?
To be honest, we'll start it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And how I felt about it was like, I tried to stay out of it. Man, I really did. Like, I didn't want to, even though I knew I was going to take heat for shit already, just because like this was, I couldn't ignore this one. Like, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't be like, oh, well,
business
Sharp
as usual.
just stay business as usual. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just mind my business. It kind of drug me into it. So, dealing with it from, some of the viewers and being like, oh, Sharp, you need to leave, or Sharp, you need to start your own shit. I'm like, I've had no problems here in this building. Like, none. I don't have any problems with our agreements. I don't have any problems with, like, I don't sit here right now on this couch with malice in my heart towards you. I just don't, bro. If I did, I'd rather call you. You know how I get down. I feel like some shit ain't for the camera, but some things had to get leaked or just talked about rather. And, we talked about it. And like I said, man, I just felt like I came in by myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody patted me on the back, bro, and be like, yeah, come in. Yeah, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? I had to show my worth.
Right.
And I think that's basically the main point. The main point of this is that Sharp wasn't anyone's friend. He basically came on No Jumper off of the back of that iconic viral Why Underbelly interview that he did. And if you're not familiar, Why Underbelly is a really cool channel where the guy essentially talks to and kind of highlights this plight and the struggle of people who are going through drug addiction, people who are in gangs, people who came out of prison, people who just are kind of what the internet would deem to be down bad. But he does provide them with the opportunity to kind of tell their story. And I feel like it's a real good platform to go and check out because you get a lot of, information and insight into what those lifestyles are like. And I think a lot of those people, even though they're American, I think that kind of stories, those narratives could be applied to anybody around the world. So if you are, maybe, on the flipping crazy path and you're going down a place of kind of self-destruction, those type of channels are quite a good place to sort of like get sobered up and figure out, hey, if I keep going down the path that I'm going down, this is direction I can kind of go in from these people. And there's hundreds of videos on there, people kind of saying the same sort of message and kind of talking about how their lives basically spiraled out of control after making a couple of bad, decisions or maybe just some bad luck overall. So it's a pretty good one. And he went on there and spoke spoke about his basically, you know, his journey and his life and what he kind of came through and what he basically did to get where he wanted to get to. And it kind of came across really well, very genuine. And then, of course, you know, Adam22 kind of scooped him up and put him on his platform. So I didn't expect him to leave. And I think actually I had way more respect for Sharp, the fact that he kind of decided to stay only because he said he didn't have any issues with Adam directly. And oddly enough, I think even though the drama didn't affect him, it probably did benefit him because of all the bad business and the way he basically, I think Adam22 didn't really respect or do right by the guys on the platform who some of them considered him friends. I think he's going to benefit from, because Adam's not going to want to fuck it up again. You don't expect him to, especially because Sharp is like one of the only ones left there who is still kind of a draw when it comes to pulling numbers, because, you know, that platform and Adam are kind of obsessed with how much views they get on stuff, which is what it is, but I guess it, because you have to pay the bills. But if that's the case and you're obsessed with the views and that's the main prerogative about keeping people on, someone like a Sharp is definitely someone you have to keep on board, because like it or not, if you don't like his approach or how he goes on, he is Blockbuster when it comes to, or sorry, he's Netflix when it comes to bloody getting in the views and pulling people in. People definitely do like him when he's on there ranting and raving and saying the things that he says or dropping the jewels and the wisdom that he does. So people definitely do get that. So I understand that. And I also liked when he went on AD's show. He spoke really well to AD to the point where, you know, Ace Boy Pun had to step in and basically get him to hang up the phone and kind of turned it into a beef thing, because, you know, he did raise some good points to AD, like, hey, couldn't you have dealt with this in a way that didn't result in you kind of deciding to bounce? That this could have been dealt with in another way, because I think essentially the whole reason why that kind of all fell down and went to shit was because, I think personally, because of Adam22 should have never spoken to Lush about any business pertaining to the employees or staff members there. The fact that he did speak to him, and then Lush obviously is somebody who can't keep a secret and is clearly somebody who's already kind of a little bit fragile in his own way. Once that story got out and it kind of was turned into Chinese whispers, it kind of always was going to land on AD's feet looking a bit funny style. So it was impossible for him to not take that disrespect and not feel he'd been slighted, even though he hadn't been slighted, maybe, who knows, you know. But I did like the fact that Sharp was real enough to kind of, you know, not confront, but tell, give basically AD a different side of the story and basically say, hey, you could have maybe dealt with this in a better way as well, that could have maybe helped you in the future. Because there is also a scenario I could imagine where AD could have stayed for a few more months or whatever, you know, run it up, get some checks in and whatnot, and then bounce later on. It didn't have to be just off the back of everything that happened right in that moment. It was a little bit reactive, but, you know, it all kind of helped and kind of worked out for everybody in the long run going forward. Then the next clip I want to play, the one that's the most important one, the funniest one personally for me, is this clip. This clip is absolutely hilarious. So this is a clip of Adam essentially saying that he misses AD, T-Rell, and I think it's mostly T-Rell he misses in this clip. He says he misses T-Rell and all the guys there, and he kind of feels like T-Rell shouldn't be feeling a way about him because they never had an issue. It was an issue he had with Housefern, of course, prior, and an issue that he had with AD, but they had no personal issue, so he shouldn't be kind of like not wanting to speak to him. They should still be friends, which I think is legitimately the most delusional, lack of accountability thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, this guy is absolutely on another planet if he thinks that T-Rell should still be friends with him, based on what happened and how basically everything kind of, you know, how everything transpired over time. This is really, really crazy. But this is Adam22 talking about how he feels like he didn't do some people wrong and they should still be cool with him.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be real with you. Like, okay, so we covered the house phone thing and talked about how him leaving was pretty understandable and everything. With the other guys who left more recently, I'm going to be real. It's like, I don't really feel like I disrespected them in the same way that shit went down with house phone. You know, I think that realistically, you know, a few weeks out, you can look at it and be like, they had a good thing going. They had their own momentum. They picked an opportune time to dip out. And I can't really like identify the thing that I did to them that was so fucked up that they had to leave, or that by proxy, you should have to leave as well. That's
the mad thing about this guy. He still doesn't get it. Like, I can sit here honestly and say that Adam22's personality has never really, I've never liked his personality, as like, he's never kind of been somebody that I could say, oh, he seems like a likable kind of guy. You kind of put up with him because of the content he put out And in the beginning stages, he used to actually do really good interviews. He'd be one of the only ones, I think, within that hip hop sphere who was interviewing the artists who actually sounded like, because a lot of these guys in that hip hop media space, if they're interviewing like younger artists who are coming up, they kind of have it as a point of pride. They don't listen to their music. The younger artist kind of has to earn their respect. I think you saw that happening with that viral interview of like Lil Uzi Vert and Ebro on like Hot 97 back in the day, where like Ebro is basically acting a little bit like, not aloof, but he's got a bit of an attitude. He's acting like, you know, Lil Uzi Vert has to kind of earn his respect or earn his listen. This is a really bizarre attitude that a lot of these hip hop media guys have with the younger people. I'm not sure what that's about, but regardless, Adam 22 at the time, I thought beforehand, a few years ago, was one of the only people in that space of hip hop media who I felt like actually listened to the albums or read up on the person that they were going to interview. So he did really good interviews. He had a pretty sick platform in terms of the vlogs that they did and the other shows that they did. So even though his personality and him as a human being is kind of unlikable, he kind of comes across like a bit of a cunt, you kind of put up with it because of the product was so good. Cool, right? You put up with it because the product was so good. But in this situation, even I can say, even not liking the guy, that he's not totally to blame, but he has some blame in it. Maybe a huge portion of it, but not all of it is his fault. But the fact that he can sit there and he's still not aware that a whole number of things happened at the same time that contribute to everybody leaving, but he also contributed to all those things, is ridiculous. Like, he doesn't understand it. He just doesn't get it. There's no kind of comprehension. And maybe that's just like a narcissist thing. You just don't see the error in your ways. Like, everybody is wrong but you. But sometimes I think to myself, if you work somewhere, or if you're the boss, or if you're the founder, or if you're whatever, the leader of a place, and everybody leaves because they have an issue with you, surely at some point, even if you're a narcissist, surely at some point you have to say to yourself, hold on, maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I did something to make everybody leave. But he can't actually rationalize that. It doesn't make any sense in his head that maybe that was the reason why. Now, I'm not saying that he's totally to blame, but like I said before, I think he contributed in some part to it breaking down. And of course, everybody else contributed some part to it, but he played a huge part in it because he's a flipping leader. But hey, what do I know? Let's continue.
That was a lot. I was just like, man, like, because I fuck with everybody, homie. And I'm sure, like, I ain't saying nobody says it, but I'm sure motherfuckers be like, well, damn, you know, fuck Sharp then. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up. Like, but I had nothing. I have had nothing but love for everybody that was here. Being here, leaving, doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't change, bro. I don't just change on people overnight. So I'm always going to have love for them. I'm always going to shoot my support. But hey, man, over here, this is, I touched some bread in this motherfucker. So I ain't about to, you know.
We have a good relationship.
And I have to respect that too about Sharp too. He's protecting his money, and obviously he has no personal problem with Adam 22. There were parts of this interview where he did come across a little bit like a cheerleader. But again, you're at work, you're in front of your boss. Sometimes, you know, some things can get a little bit, you can sometimes get a bit ahead of yourself. So I'm not going to blame him too much for that. But I do respect the fact that he didn't jump on the whole, like, oh, I'm going to quit too because everyone's quitting thing. Because sometimes that can be a mistake people can make, where you can get a little bit too emotional about things and make hasty decisions. And in the financial situation we're in now, or in the economic situation we're in at the moment, no one should be making any hasty decisions about their job. If it doesn't, you know, if you can suck it up and get to work and clock in and clock out and collect your check, do it. If it's possible. If it's untenable, then of course hand in your resignation and look for another job ASAP. But people shouldn't be just quitting jobs, especially stuff like this. Especially stuff like this where you just sit around and talk about shit that you see on DJ Academics' Instagram stream or flipping Instagram feed. Sorry, you shouldn't be quitting those type of jobs hastily, especially if they're paying you pretty well. Just stay on your thing, mind your business, and kind of keep your head down.
And we do good business.
We do great fucking business.
That's just kind of my thing. All these weeks removed from the other situation is like, I feel like we're supposed to still be friends, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like those people should be putting dirt on my name or trying to, like, you know,
crazy
hold
guy.
a grudge out the door. And to be real with you, a bunch of them have been very, very considerate with what they were able to say or what they were willing to say, etc. But when I look at it, it's like, So am I not supposed to be cool with T-Rell? Because I feel like in my mind,
Crazy
I don't feel like
guy.
anything happened between me and him that should prohibit us from having a friendship. And there's been multiple times where I thought about hitting him up over the past couple of weeks,
Insane.
even just about some shit that don't have anything to do with anything, to just be like, hey, check this out. And then I'm like, fuck, like, I feel like I'm not supposed to hit him up. I feel like the narrative is that we're not cool, even though we've had little conversations here and there since then. But
the guy is delusional and he's crazy. But what you can say for sure, just to give him some sense of compassion, is that he's definitely super lonely. He's got all the money in the world. He's got all the clout in the world. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a kid. He may have another kid coming. Who knows? He's married. Everything's going well in life, but he's lonely. He built this platform and it was kind of all around him. It was no jumper, but it was basically his platform. And over time, he brought all these hosts on and they basically got to share the limelight with him. And he was able to create this whole group of people. Like, you should have seen how happy Adam was in that flipping Christmas vlog that they did. When they all came in the office, they were all handing Secret Santa gifts to each other. He looked really happy because he looked around, probably thought to himself, wow, I did this. I got all these people from all these different walks of life under one roof. They're all working underneath me, but they've all kind of contributed to the success that No Jumper is now. And it was probably way more fun that way. What's the point of being rich and famous if you don't have anyone to share it with? And obviously, now that everybody is left, he's essentially on his own. And those guys that he had as hosts that he hired on his platform, he kind of saw some of them as friends. But now the fact that they left with a bad taste in their mouth, they don't want to be his friend anymore. And he's legitimately alone. He has no one else to speak to. Yeah, he doesn't want to sit there and have a chat with flipping Flocko. He's obviously a bit, on the spectrum. So is flipping Yuri. That's not going to be a flipping fun conversation to have. Almighty Suspect looks like the kind of guy who clocks in and clocks out. Sharp looks like the kind of guy who clocks in and clocks out. So he essentially has no one else to talk to apart from Josh, who is essentially a family member. So that's where he's feeling now. But if he's sitting there legitimately and thinking that T-Rell owes him a friendship still after everything's going on, this man is legitimately on another planet. Because if you think about it, forget AD. If I'm T-Rell and I saw the way Adam did House Phone, forget AD. AD, of course, that's his friend. They're from the same area. They grew up the same place, blah, 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 whatever, cool. But let's look at House Phone. If I'm T-Rell and I saw the way Adam 22 did House Phone, with having that trans person on the platform who said what they said about House Phone and how they may have hooked up in the past, knowing that House Phone had a current girlfriend at the time, AceGirl Cheekz, and what that did to his life and how it basically eventually led to his relationship breaking down and may have contributed to House Phone relapsing and all this malarkey, and they were good friends for a long, long time. If I saw the way that Adam 22 did House Phone, my alarm bells would be ringing straight away. Like, wow, this is a guy he's actually known for like 10 plus years. They're actually friends. They're not just colleagues. They've been on the grind together. They got it out the quote unquote mud together on No Jumper. And he did him that way. My alarm bells will be ringing straight. I'll be like, whoa, this guy is not to be trusted. This guy is definitely somebody that could stab me in the back. This guy is definitely somebody that could scum me over. I'm going to be watching my P's and Q's around this guy. I don't want to be caught in a situation where you are going to do anything to me that may flipping, throw me off or kind of ruin my life. That's what I would do. Then you add on top of that what he did with AD. The AD situation, I'm probably in a minority where I feel like I've watched enough of the podcast to see that AD was starting to phone it in towards the end. I think even he would admit that he was starting to kind of phone it in. He wasn't really trying. He basically was coming in, essentially collecting his check, doing the bare minimum. Maybe it was because he was a bit kind of over it. Maybe it was because he was putting a lot of energy into his own community thing and everything else going on over there. Or maybe just in general, whatever. Just maybe his personality, I don't know. But he definitely needed to kind of get given a kick up the arse to kind of maybe bring it, quote unquote, more on that kind of platform and kind of bring his A game on there. And Adam, if they were friends, owed him that conversation of like, hey man, I'm thinking of moving the channel to another direction, but obviously you've been a big part of this change and how we've kind of got to this point, and I kind of think you're owed at least a chance to try and turn around your show, your own performance. So I'm going to tell you now that as a friend, like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe letting you go or moving you on, but I want to give you the chance to kind of earn your spot or whatever, maybe just something. But he deserved a conversation, a direct one. That didn't happen. Maybe it happened in bits and pieces or whatever it may be. But what ended up happening was that he ended up telling Lush somebody that was hired new onto the platform what he actually thought of AD and his three or four same jokes he tells and all this malarkey. And sometimes it doesn't really matter how you say something or what gets. No, it doesn't really matter what you say. It usually matters like how it's done. And I feel like if you're AD and you feel like you and Adam are friends, hearing third, fourth, fifth hand that Adam told Lush about your performance and about letting you go is always going to sting. It's always going to come back sounding crazy that somebody you count a friend went behind your back and told somebody else. Or even if it's something that they told you, because now Adam's saying this new narrative he's spinning is that, oh, I actually told AD that I wanted him to move him on from the show and take him off the Monday show, whatever it may be, before I told Lush anyway. Even if that's the case, the fact that it still came from Lush was really weird and bizarre. And I still stand on that. I don't think it's professional in any way, shape or form for the boss and for the leader of a company to be discussing other employees' performances with other employees' performances. That should be something you should be discussing with management, with upper management, with other founders, whatever it may be, people within that kind of leadership position. But you shouldn't be talking to, if you're a boss, you should be talking to the receptionist about the guy in the printing room that you want to fire or whatever it may be. You should be talking to somebody else that's in a leadership position, because that's how things are done in a sort of professional workplace manner. And you want to give people the respect that they deserve, so you don't want rumors to be flying around, so you can kind of keep a close lid on what's going on. But that didn't really happen, of course. And then, of course, that kind of led to the overall downfall of it. So for him to sit there and legitimately think that AD and T-Rell being as close as they are, that they wouldn't see the issue with House Phone and think, oh, that is really bad omen, because if Adam could do that to House Phone, who is his friend for 10 plus years, what can he do to us? If he didn't see that as a bad omen, or the fact that he treated AD the way he did, I don't see why this guy legitimately thinks that T-Rell owes him anything. It's quite bizarre that he'd even have that kind of mindset. It's really, really insane that he'd actually think that. And I'm glad he said that, because I think he said that in an effort to kind of, pull at fucking T-Rell's sympathy or something, or make him feel a way about something or whatever it may be, right? But I love the fact that T-Rell didn't really kind of bite on that bullshit, and instead said this is a reply. This is probably the best reply that anyone could say in the face of Adam basically trying to pull the sympathy card, trying to play victim, and trying to act like he didn't do anything to contribute to the fact that everybody ran away from No Jumper, because he's just a really difficult person to get along with, and he doesn't know how to treat people well, basically. And on a human level, he doesn't know how to kind of like be nice to people or just treat them in some sort of respectful way. So this is T-Rell replying to Adam 22 on his podcast Back on Fig. This is a pretty good reply.
Like, I don't give a fuck, nigga. I ain't trying to hear none of that sad ass, vulnerable ass, hoe ass shit, bitch. Stick your chest out, hoe, and do your shit. Cause we gonna do our shit, and then that's it. You feel me? Like, this is what I'm doing over here. You feel me? Ain't niggas out here calling me idiots, calling me dumb, calling me stupid. You know what I'm saying? Firing niggas on niggas' platform, firing homies, doing all this shit. Stick your chest out. You feel me? Fuck it. Like, nigga, we ain't trying to hear none of that shit, nigga. You better get sharp motherfucking ass over there all
Stand
week
on business,
too,
like fun say, stand on.
I was like, hilarious. I swear to God, that was brilliant. We don't want to hear none of that sorry, soppy, sad ass shit. And it's true. It's true. And what he said is true at the end as well. Stand on it. Stand on it. Puff your chest out. If he legitimately thought all of those guys weren't contributing to the No Jumper, because that's another new narrative he's spinning. Adam's throwing out so many narratives to kind of basically distract from him just not fessing up to his own mistakes and saying the most crucial words, I'm sorry. In that whole episode, I'm not sure if I heard many sorries about how sorry he was about what happened, how it transpired. It's just loads of kind of vaguenesses and kind of, dancing around certain things and basically making all the excuses possible just to kind of, distance himself from any kind of blame or accountability. But one thing that's for certain is that if he legitimately did think these guys are not contributing, like imagine if he was actually a brutal, a really cutthroat CEO, founder guy who was like, you know what, even though these guys are my friends, they're not contributing to the bottom line. The shows are actually getting the most views or the most money are my interviews. Cool. I'm going to cut all these guys off. Cut them all off. Be brutal. Be cutthroat. Okay, be cold-hearted. But then don't start now crying and starting to play the sympathy card on the other end also. You can't be both. And I think there's a thing nowadays in just culture overall where everybody wants to be both. Everybody wants to be the boss, everyone wants to be the savage, but they also want to be the victim when it's kind of opportune and it sort of works for them. And I don't think life works that way. You have to choose one or the other. Either you're the aggressor or you're the victim, but you cannot be both, especially not at the same time. Maybe you can be both one after the other, but not at the flipping same damn time. Come on now. So if you did legitimately think those guys weren't contributing to the bottom dollar, of course, then cool. Or the bottom line, cool. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Stand on your business, say, cool, I'm moving in a new direction. Hire all these flipping right-wing loudmouths who are going to go on there and start talking about trans issues and gay bathrooms and, you know, flipping drag queens, talking to people in libraries, whatever. Get those people to talk about those same tired topics they talk about all the time, and get them on No Jumper and basically turn No Jumper into, you know, flipping Destiny, but with other people on there. Do that. But now he's seeing that he doesn't really want to do that, or he's seeing the flipping chasm and the hole that is now left from all those shows leaving, and the money's probably not looking as great as it probably would do if those guys were still on, and now he's regretting how things basically transpired. But, you know, his arrogance, his narcissism doesn't let him just say, yep, you know what, hold my hands up, I messed up. He still has to kind of bloviate and make it weird. So I'm glad T-Rell basically said that and essentially told him to go and spin on it, you know, because he's got no absolute time for it whatsoever in the slightest. So big up T-Rell for standing on business on his end and basically saying, hey, I don't care what you say, it's over with, I'm done with that stuff. And then the final bit as well, I thought was hilarious, was this bit of T-Rell basically flexing and kind of emphasizing that, hey, I'm done, and, you know, I would miss me too. This is hilarious.
Had that nigga stick his chest out talking about he get paid more than me. Bitch, look at this shit behind me.
And I'm behind you, bitch. Yeah,
and
that
you
part.
losing your motherfucking mind?
Who's getting paid more?
I would miss me too, bitch.
Fuck.
I would miss me too.
That's a brilliant face, isn't it? I would miss me too. I absolutely love that. So big up T-Rell, big up all those guys over there. That's absolutely fantastic. And then of course, there's another bit also here, one more clip I want to play, where basically T-Rell explains a bit further some of the issues he had over there and just the lack of money that was given. I think someone mentioned in the chat that I think T-Rell said he was getting paid like 300 an episode or 200 episodes or something crazy, something pittance, which I think is a pittance for them, especially for T-Rell, because he was one of the bigger hosts and, you know, the guys who'd kind of generate the most views and whatnot. So for them to be paid that low was crazy, but this is his overall opinions on it. Then play the clip.
You know, the pay, you know what I'm saying? And niggas was like, wasn't making no money. And it's just like, prove my point to what I was saying and what I, you know what I'm saying, I've been saying. Like, you can't show me, you can't show me in the group chat, oh, you guys only made $700, I'm not making any money, and I might cancel the show tomorrow. And it's just like, nigga, you can't do me like that. I'm like, well, shit, 'cause I ain't making no hooves. You know what I mean? Like, so ain't no room for me to be going up in here trying to negotiate, trying to see if I can get a raise. And I'm just a loyal nigga. I'm not finna do that. You know what I mean? But also still, I'm, you know, as a businessman, I'm like, hold on. So you make 700, and we got the clip channel, you know, Snapchat or Facebook. We gonna add that up. Okay, we got brand deals. We got this. Oh, not only what we can't calculate is people living on the channel after they watch our. You know what I'm saying? After they watch our show, they're living on the channel. So you wouldn't be able to put that into the analytics to know how much was being made on the channel. But now you do. Because, you know what I'm saying? It just was, you know, so narcissistic and just arrogant. Like niggas was just watching our show only and only gonna show me what was made from our show. So it's like, now you do. Because now when you left, you would see the hit. You would see what we brought. You know, and I felt it in my gut. I knew it, but I couldn't prove it. But I knew we brought people there. I knew we brought subscribers there. I knew we brought some shit there.
Anyway, that's what you said about that. So some really good insights there. But it just goes back to my main point of view. Like, it's just a bit upsetting, to be honest, from afar to watch this stuff. It happens with podcasts here in the UK also. I don't know. I feel like this whole podcasting scene, especially within that the hip hop community and space and whatnot, is a real good opportunity for people who are from really humble, from humble beginnings, or from the hood, or from deprived neighborhoods, and from places where maybe they don't get many opportunities, to really put themselves into a position where they can make some real good money and essentially pull their whole entire family and maybe generations to come out of the depths of poverty. It's really cool. And it's also something that is fairly easy to do. Yes, the equipment, you have to buy the equipment and stuff, which is kind of pricey when you begin with. And maybe to start from zero with no views, no subscribers, no downloads is kind of hard. But if you stick at it and you've got a pretty good niche, and maybe you've got a good personality and you come across well on camera, it's a pretty easy thing to kind of get right. And for me, for the guys who have the privilege, or who have the gift, or who have been given, ordained, or chosen by the public to be the ones that people love and they want to view and check out, and they get all the views, they get all the sponsors, I just don't understand why you just can't make it work or figure it out. Why does it always have to end in beef? Why does it always have to end in like back and forths and nonsense and people firing and all this sort of stuff? It's a genuine opportunity where legitimately people can make money from talking into a flipping webcam, in their bedroom about nonsense they see on the internet, and people can view it and whatnot. Like, why does it always have to end like this? Why can't people just like figure out the business and make it work? Because this is the first time in history, really, people can legitimately take themselves from the depths of poverty, from like really low places, and pull themselves out there just from being themselves on camera. Not having to flip in acquiesce to some nonsense boss, not having to flip in abide by these stupid rules of a network, just by being yourself. Like, and actually the internet actually is like that. The more honest you are with your audience, usually for the most part, the more you get rewarded, because they actually like that you're presenting your real authentic self on there. So why can't these guys see that gift that they've been given, that opportunity, that blessing from above or from the universe, and basically use it for all its purposes, and kind of make it work for the long run? Why does it always have to end like this? I don't like it. Obviously, to view in terms of drama, and I've always said on here before that I like this sort of stuff because essentially it's a weird version of like the Kardashians. You get to watch these guys kind of back and forth bicker and whatnot, but it is kind of sad and kind of lame also. They get given an opportunity to make real money, to make a difference, to make a change, to inspire people, to entertain people mostly, and they always make a way to kind of not shoot themselves in the foot, but really kind of mess it up in some sort of way. And I just don't understand why. It's really easy. It's kind of fun, it looks like, because you get to do it with your friends. You're not having to hire random people that you can work with. It's people that you actually like to spend time with, and you get to put a camera on and basically, make something of it along the way. Why not just make it work? Why not just figure it out? Especially because most of these people also are grown-ups. We're not talking about people who are like, young TikTokers. We're talking about guys and girls who have kids, who have mortgages, who have, bills and stuff, who live a regular life, who've worked a regular life, who've worked a regular job, and they still don't see this benefit, this blessing they've been given, and just trying to make it work. They kind of always have to kind of, sprinkle some flipping drama in just to kind of, I don't know, get their rocks off. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe because I'm a one-man show kind of thing, I don't understand it. But I just think even if I had friends I was working with, I'd want to make it work with my friends, because it's fun doing it with your friends. Why get into a position where you have to beef? But maybe that's out of people's control. Who knows? Who bloody knows? Yeah, Koida's right, man, in the chat. Yeah, it's a lesson about being greasy. Yeah, you're right, actually. It is. There is something about it. There is something to be said for not caring about money. It's kind of a weird conundrum to be in. You kind of have to care about money, especially if you're at their kind of level. Maybe not on mine, because, who gives a fuck? Just talk about what you know to talk about. But when you're on their kind of level, and you're getting like 50,000 views plus on your flipping live stream and stuff, right? And you're getting 100,000 views on your interviews, you're making decent money. You're probably pulling in more than 10 grand a week. And when those type of monies get involved, usually for most people out there, that's most money you're ever gonna make ever in your life, or most money you've ever made until this point. So maybe with that kind of money, your brain starts to like change, which is really dumb, really. Everyone should just be doing, in theory, what kind of Joe Rogan's doing, where despite the amount of money and views and notoriety and fame he's got, the show is basically still the same. It's just him sitting down with people talking. It hasn't changed. There's no like intermission with a band playing. He doesn't suddenly get up and start doing fucking jujitsu. It's just him sitting on the table talking to someone. and it kind of has worked because he's just kept it basically the same, improved it in terms of studio equipment, lighting, cameras and whatnot here and there. Maybe the caliber of guests are improving also along the way, but the main crux of the show is what it is. The team is very small and it just works. Maybe that's the thing. But I think with these guys, when the money gets involved and they start thinking about the money, it kind of just changes the quality of the show a little bit in a weird way, which is odd. And it kind of makes them feel like they're way more important than what they are also, because maybe a lot of them as well, I kind of think about it also, they have this kind of thing what I used to have, where you kind of feel like you're like an undiscovered genius. You feel like you're like this it's really strange feeling that you have, where you feel like I'm that guy when you have nothing to show for it, right? So sometimes when you make it in the podcasting sense, it suddenly gives you that, see, I knew it. I knew I was that guy. I knew I was that girl. I knew I was a boss. I knew it. And you start to kind of believe legitimately that your shit doesn't stink. And then you start to develop an ego, and it starts to go a bit crazy. And I think, again, to get them a little bit of, to give them some benefit of doubt, I'm also sure that it hasn't been analyzed yet, but people need to analyze it. There is maybe something really weird about being a regular person from like the age of 25 to a regular person within the age range of like 25 and 45. One day turning on your phone or going on your phone live stream, suddenly becoming famous in that kind of age range, from being a regular person who works a regular job, who lives a regular life, to then suddenly becoming famous in a way. It must be such a trip to kind of figure out in your head. So maybe it kind of breaks everyone's brain. We've seen it countless times. Jordan Peterson is the first one that kind of comes to mind. He was a regular lecturer, a regular psychiatrist or psychologist, living a somewhat regular life. One video goes viral of him arguing with some student outside of some university, and then suddenly his lectures go viral, and then he becomes like a big star, and essentially his brain explodes from all the attention and from all the flipping eyes that are on him. And then the benzo addiction, all that sort of stuff goes on, and he gets corrupted by his daughter, who knows. But there is something about that, like making it late in life, that's quite nice, because you get to enjoy it when you're an adult, and it's not like being Justin Bieber and you're 16 and stuff, which is kind of difficult. But it also must be a bit of a trip in your head, especially if you've got like delusions of grandeur. You start to think, yeah, man, I knew I was going to be that guy. I knew it. And you start to act a little bit tyrannical and shit with people. Maybe there's something in that. Who knows? But anyway, moving on from that one and my nonsensical rants, let's talk about this clip. This is another one, talking about people who mess things up. This is an iconic clip we have to flip and mention. This one is iconic. So this is taken from Biggest Bros, and it features Housephone admitting to relapsing and using drugs as the reason why him and AceGirl Cheekz are no longer together. Like, who would have guessed it? Oh no. I think everybody guessed it, really, to be completely fair. But again, being a fan of the pod, No Jumper specifically, these guys and where they came from, and obviously being a fan of Housephone also, I can't help but feel a little bit bad for him. But there's a part for me that also thinks like, we all have those friends in life, right? Who are or people that we know just in life, who are just eternal fuck ups. They just can't seem to get right, even though they get given every opportunity. They've got all the skills necessary to get themselves, out of the whatever situation they're in, or to put themselves in a good position to do something with their life. They just seem to always find a way to kind of self-sabotage, right? Self-sabotage, sorry. And I think maybe we've all had periods in our life where we've done that, but sometimes we know people who do it consistently across their whole time you've known them. I feel like with Housephone, he's kind of unique though. He's maybe the first person I've seen who self-sabotages, but also always happens to land on their feet. I think this is the reason why he keeps doing it, because life hasn't really taught him anything. He hasn't had any harsh life lessons where he's had to legitimately, sleep in his car, or he had to sell clothes to kind of pay rent. He kind of always figures it out. So I think because he always figures it out, there's no real need to really change, because life kind of just works out for him. Maybe that's kind of one of the weird, it's like a golden handcuffs of luck. because he always ends up lucking out. And I don't know if ever you guys have it, but I've never seen people like that. I can think of the first person I'm trying to think of who's kind of like that. Maybe it's Dark Side Phil, right? He's a terrible human being and a terrible streamer, and he takes advantage of his flipping fan base, or he basically takes him for granted, but he still is able to somehow land on his feet and pull in 100K salary per year, despite being a demonstrably horrible person. Maybe that's kind of part of it. But anyway, regardless, this is Hyphone admitting to relapsing, which caused the breakup with AceGirl Cheekz, and just kind of bearing his soul. And I like the fact that his friends kind of pull him up on it on a few bits and pieces and kind of call him out on his bullshit here and there. But I don't think it's going to change anything.
I have nothing else to say besides I apologize. And honestly, if I didn't care, I wouldn't even answer the question, or I would have danced around it. Like, it's not necessarily the easiest for me to come out here and be like, oh, hey, by the way, guys, I've been being a fucking asshole and I've been relapsing on drugs and I've been having a fucking hard ass time. It's not that easy for me to just come out and say it, bro. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
But it's the truth, and it's honest, and me trying to be honest. And at the end of the day, bro, like, I wish her nothing but the best, and I appreciate everything that she's done for me. Just like the sheer just love and respect and support that she's given me in a very short amount of time. Like, she could have got ghost on me very a long time ago, like since the beginning, really. I flaked on her the first time we were supposed to hang out.
That's not like something to brag
I'm
about.
not bragging about it, nigga. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not, what am,
Hey,
I look
you
like
know-
I'm laughing about it. I'm
I
not
want to tell you.
bragging.
That's fucking awful, isn't it? Have you ever been in this position in life? Because I think like this happens on the other end. Usually, as a guy, it happened to me before, especially when I was younger, when you're like under the age of flipping 21 or something. Usually, when you're a guy that sort of age, you sometimes, unfortunately, because I think this is it's a real kind of unfortunate thing, because sometimes you can't get the person out of your mind, or you always start thinking, man, what if? But usually, when you're under 21, there is a couple of occasions when you end up bumping into somebody that you would legitimately like to be in a relationship with. Like, you bump into, like, oh my God, this person's so cool, they're so amazing, they're so hot, whatever it is about them that you love. But then you find out, oh, they've got a boyfriend, like a long-term boyfriend they've had for a while, and they're not breaking up anytime soon. But then you hear about the boyfriend, you're like, hold on, this guy sounds like an absolute loser. How did this amazing person end up with this loser? And it happens, I think, a lot when you're younger. And usually you end up kind of seeing it a lot later on in life, that it's kind of a common thing also, where sometimes people who are kind of decent on the outside, and you feel like you probably would cherish them way more than their current situation, always get ended up with terrible people. And you can't figure out why. Like, why does that person have the bad luck of crossing paths with somebody who clearly isn't great for them, or isn't the best person for them at that time, and you don't have the opportunity for them? Whereas Houseman has had the opposite. Houseman's had the benefit of maybe meeting AceGirl Cheekz, maybe a girl who he probably isn't ready for at this part of his life, because he's still a bit of a party boy and doing what he's doing, and she's maybe a bit more mature. And I think as well, the other factor of it, which I think shouldn't really matter, but I think is probably a big deal and people don't talk about it too often, is this. I feel like if one person is sober and the other person isn't, it's just not going to work out, really and truly. Maybe it works if like you both were not sober and then one person gets sober over time. But I think if you start the relationship with one person being, hey, I hardly drink, and to me weed is like crack cocaine, right? That it's as bad as that, and you're a party boy, it's just not going to work out. That's just not a good balance, especially if you add into it. I think they may be the same age. I'm not too sure. AceGirl Cheekz and Housephone. But even if they are the same age, she's way more mature than him. She's clearly somebody who's maybe got her head screwed on a little bit more. Maybe he's had a few more real life experience, just a bit more mature in life. So it's difficult to kind of make it work if you're coming from the point of view of the guy who's, you know, on Instagram Live talking to random harlots, you know, doing whippets and stuff, drinking lean, doing coke and all that stuff. It's difficult for a girl who's kind of figuring it out and on her way to kind of making something of her life to put up with that sort of stuff. But I think fundamentally for people out there who are millennials or Gen Z, I think that should be a far more pressing question when you come to dating. You should be maybe telling people, asking people, especially if you're sober, hey, do you do drugs? Do you drink? That should be something that's high on your list of like requirements, and be like, hey, I can't be with somebody who drinks and does drugs because, you know, lifestyle wise and, you know, just lifestyle wise, I think goals and just personality, it's just not going to blend. It's just not going to work out. I don't think so. You can't be having one person not involved in that lifestyle, another person in. It's just not going to work long term. That's just what I think anyway.
I'll tell you something too, bro. I really fuck with you, like really opening up and just being being honest. No, real talk. Just being honest with yourself and being honest with us and everybody else. Like, yo, I fucked up and this is what it is. I really fuck with that. But
that shit be getting thrown back in your face sometimes, and it kind of is like discouraging to keep being like fully open like that. And I'm trying to learn the balance, because I'm like, I don't want to say
it's not easy.
I don't want to say
there's
too
no handbook
much
for it.
I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too little. I don't want to not say nothing at all. Like, I'm not the type of person that's not going to say nothing at all ever.
But also, I want to say this as well with like piggybacking off what like Pollard said, where I feel like house phone, you know, some people might in the comment section might be like, oh, house phone, you know, they'll be upset at you for your decision making, all that stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, you haven't made the best decisions. But I have to say that out of a lot of people I know in my life, house phone can make bad decisions and then tell you to your face, dude, I fucked up. I'm sorry, bro. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take a long time. There's so many people that I know. Even
Am I okay in saying that? Am I okay in saying that that's also a bit of manipulation? When people continually fuck up, but then they're also super apologetic. Like, my bad, man. Oh, I messed up. Oh, man. I don't know how I could have done that. Man. Don't you think so? That's like a form of like, what do you think? That's a form of manipulation in a way. Kind of. And it's kind of a way to sort of absolve yourself of blame or to move the conversation on, because the actual conversation that needs to be had is, why do you keep fucking up? Why is it habitual? Why is it a consistent thing that you keep doing, where you always seem to get in a position where you seem to fuck it up? Because Housephone, to be fair to him, again, I like the guy. I love the guy. I think he's really, really fun on stream and clearly brings a lot to these platforms and stuff. And I've kind of seen him grow up on live stream kind of in real time, or on video on YouTube and stuff, content wise in real time. So he seems like a real cool dude. But let's be fair. He nearly got fired from No Jumper. Not because of drama, but because of his unprofessionalism and his inability to basically turn up on time or turn up at all, or even give people heads up if he's not showing up to work. And at No Jumper, they just sat around on couches, smoking free weed, sometimes getting free food, talking about stuff that they saw on the internet. A pretty decent and easy job. And at that time, they were kind of friends. So they got to sit around, smoke weed, eat free food, and talk about stuff on the internet with their friends and get paid for it. And he nearly got fired from that job. He nearly got fired through that job. That's pretty crazy. That goes to show you how unreliable he is in general, and how this situation that he's in, where he kind of had to break up with his girlfriend because of his lifestyle and stuff, this isn't like a one-off thing. This is something that that you would say is a result of a pattern of, you know, events and actions he's done in the past. And I think the way Blasie's sitting there looking off to the side is a real kind of evidence of like, yeah, he's heard this all before. And I think even if you read the comments, there's many people in the comments, I think even I may have left one also, saying the same thing. Like, they've heard this all before from him. Dude, yeah, look this guy here saying in the comments, dude is a hoe, it's confirmed, take your okay, I'm not gonna say that. Another one, this person saying, dude is a fucking loser. He had a chick who was okay with and defended him sleeping with a T, and he choosing pills and coke over her. Once a loser, always a loser. Fumbled the cakes. Blasie's the homie you need to listen to, appreciate his honesty and tells it like it is. Bro is GAY. He admitted drugs made him GAY, and now that he's relapsed, Cheekz knows he's GAY again. So they're being pretty brutal. Man-child. Man, shit happens, but lil homie fucking up cause Illa was special. He better get her back. When he see her with another nigga, he's gonna track Hawk and he's gonna be crying. God bless Mr. Phone. And it's kind of cooler to see that online, right? To see fans not, maybe because it's the fan base they have. I thought a lot of the fans will be kind of like fresh and fit type of guys. Like, fuck her, you don't need her. Men can do it on their own. You don't need anybody to hold you down. You can be free. It's good that they're kind of calling him out and saying, nah, you had a good girl there. She seemed pretty nice and you messed it up because you chose coke and pills over her, which is pretty brutal. But also, I'm for freedom of choice. I'm for freedom of choice. I'm for freedom of speech. Obviously not freedom of consequences. I think people should choose what they want. If he legitimately wants to choose the party lifestyle over having a stable girlfriend, that's all fair and good. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a hilariously terrible decision to make, given the circumstances that he's in. But yeah, let's continue 1 more minute and I'll switch.
Even closer than
they'll die on that hill,
and they're so ready to die on a hill that's like the dumbest hill ever. And to me as a person, you're like, I've been disrespected. I haven't been, haven't been like listened to. I haven't been understood. I'm not gonna flake on this shit. It's like if they want to be like that, they could be like that. Yeah. You're the type of person to be like, hey man, I fucked up an hour ago. I'm really sorry about that.
I don't think that
with the escape room shit, you called us like 2 hours later, and like I kind of knew this was gonna happen. I expected you to be like, hey man, sorry, I was tripping, whatever it is. And like that's one part I appreciate about you, where I can be hella hard-headed. Like you're saying, I'm very stubborn with my arguments and shit.
I am, but and I can be like, I am too, though.
I could be like that with Riley too, where like I can, not back down on my argument, even though like halfway through the argument I realize I'm wrong. Yeah. And then it will take me a whole day to be like,
no, you're just fucking dumb as fuck. Legitimately double-digit IQ. You're not hard-headed. You're just dumb.
Hey, I fucked up yesterday. Sorry.
And I'm not gonna lie, I get like that too, and I get really defensive sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, like y'all see the way she's coming on stream and giving these like drop mic speeches. Like nigga, she's doing that to me about how I'm a fucking asshole. In real life, like I'm like nigga, I'm in the corner like damn, like I need to get like you feel me, like like. It's almost like a thing where it's like I'm not even mad, like I'm disappointed, but then like you know what I'm saying, like that hurts more, bro.
I think that like it's not a conversation of do you love her. Obviously she loves you, but I think what she's more torn apart is like at the end of the day it's all about loyalty and respect.
Definitely,
but you gotta understand that like respect all comes down to like the truth, right? And like honesty.
I definitely was like dancing around the truth, like trying to avoid telling the truth.
And you gotta put yourself in her shoes. Like you feel me? Like
Listen,
I wouldn't.
Oh my god, that's one thing.
I'm not into that shit,
bro. That's one thing that she always gets me when she's like, all she does is flip the scenario. If it was her and me, and like I'm just like, bro, no, I would fucking literally lose my mind, bro.
We were talking about that last time. That's the number one thing.
I think the only way you're gonna get her, bro, is if you get sober.
And you have shit together, bro.
You had to make that decision. Do you love her or do you love this shit a little bit more?
And I'm not, but like,
who's gonna be there for you more?
No, bro. If I told you the details, you'll be so like, bro, you're fucking stupid, bro. Like, I'm gonna tell you off camera, but I was just.
I don't think
stupid.
I want to know, man.
It's not that bad, but I'm saying just I'm gonna tell you off camera. It's not that bad, but
I fuck with Illa. I met her.
The fact that Blasey is saying I don't want to know, that's what you know is bad. When your friends don't actually want to know how you messed it up, that shows you, because he doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to hear it. He really doesn't want to hear it. Just in case it makes him look at his friend in a bad way again. I think that's actually a better way to kind of go about it. But that's the actual question he needs to ask himself. I think many people need to ask themselves out there. Do you love the lifestyle more than you love your partner? And sometimes you maybe do. I think the same way that Tom Brady decided to choose football over his family, some guys and girls out there are like, you know what? I enjoy this city girl, city boy lifestyle more than I do enjoy being at home looking after or being with my partner, or being with my pets, or being with my children. And it's a kind of crazy thing to say and admit out loud, but sometimes some people do like those things more. It should be okay to just say that, in my opinion. It's crazy to say, but it should be okay to say it because it's your truth. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? Moving on from that one, let's talk about this. I quickly wanted to mention this because I feel like people should know this. I've been absolutely banging out, rinsing, listening from the top to the bottom, Daniel Caesar's new album, Never Enough, and I want to recommend it to all my listeners of the Agostinho Zinga Show to please check out Daniel Caesar's Never Enough. If you're a fan of R&B, or if you're just curious to listen to this type of music and you want an introduction into it that isn't too crazy, definitely check out Daniel Caesar. And I've always been a fan of the guy ever since what's that first album? Was it Freudlin? Freudrin? How do you pronounce it? What's it called? Freudrin, that came out in 2017, a while ago. In between that, he had another album that I don't think really landed that well for me. I kind of didn't really pay much attention to it, but Never Enough is definitely one of the better R&B albums I've heard in a while. And why it's really good is that I feel like I've missed the kind of sense. I've missed hearing traditional R&B in the way of just a really good singer singing about really soppy emotional shit and not trying to sugarcoat stuff. Because I feel like nowadays this new form of R&B is kind of all whispery things. It's like girls whispering in that kind of faux Jenny Aiko voice. It's guys doing the whole trap soul type of stuff, like Bryson Tiller type of vibe. And there's less people out there just actually singing into a microphone on top of some really amazing beats and just kind of laying it down and laying it bare. And I feel like this album does it in a really good way. There's a mix. There's some good kind of party bop tunes in there, but for the most part, it's just great traditional R&B that you can listen to from the front to the back, and it tells a really, really good story. I think the tunes that kind of stuck out to me, that I kind of like, that I kind of want to feature, is definitely track number 4, Let Me Go. It's definitely one of my favorites on the album. Track Always is definitely one of my favorites also. But one of my favorites on there, and one of the things that I'm going to be controversial in saying, is this track called Homosexual. The track of it, the track title of it alone is absolutely hilarious. The term homosexual, I think, is absolutely funny. And I think I would be probably one of the only people out there, Daniel Caesar fans and fans of this track, who will say, I personally don't think Ty Dolla $ign was needed. He kind of sings the second half of the song or the second verse, but I don't think he was needed. I would have much preferred just hearing Daniel Caesar kind of go through that song and absolutely destroy it from front to back. I don't know. I think Ty Dolla $ign works on particular sounds, and I still think he's immensely talented, and I do like some of his tunes. He hasn't been able to kind of put it together in terms of a real coherent album just yet. I think his mixtapes usually are better than his albums, but still, I think he was just not a necessary addition. I don't think he was needed on there, and I would have made a brutal executive decision of just maybe taking him off the track. But this song, Homosexual, is really, really good. So if you haven't checked it out already, please do check out Daniel Caesar's Never Enough. It's out now on most DSPs, so definitely give it a go. Definitely give it a go. Next on this to talk about is this, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. This is courtesy of DJ Academics' Instagram account. I wanted this to kind of happen before, like a long time ago, but for some reason it just never happened. And it looks like ever since Academics got stomped out in that gym somewhere in America or Miami, wherever he was, he's now suddenly turned around and decided to kind of embrace his Latino side and kind of just go over there and do loads of cool charitable stuff. And and by the looks of it, according to G Academics, he's now doing songs with up and coming artists and whatnot. And I'm just wondering, why didn't Academics do this beforehand? Why didn't, after everything that happened with him and Trippin' Treyway, he decided to come out of that courtroom and, after snitching on everybody, and decided, I'm going to change and I'm going to turn things around by just kind of doing my reggaeton shit? Because I feel like he can do this really well and smash it. And because it's a different language, a different culture, different countries, no one's really going to care about all the baggage that comes with him when it comes to all that stuff that he did in terms of snitching and antagonizing people and trolling. No one would care. And he could essentially start anew and start from scratch. So this is a clip taken from DJ Academics' Instagram account. It says 6ix9ine got Angel Dior on a song Wappa. He one of the hottest dembo artists in Dominican Republic right now. So he's doing dembo at the moment, which is flipping cool to see. So let's play this clip of him with this artist called Angel Dior.
No, ya ahora te dan una golpe y hablamos mal. Pero mira, esto yo amaro la bicicleta mía en el
¡ay! Ahora sí ese ángel de verdad. El otro no era, este sí es.
Este no te caga de frente. Sí, es verdad que yo estoy... Habla inglés. ¡Cocote!
No.
Even I, as a non-fluent Spanish speaker, I can tell Tekashi 6ix9ine has a really funny accent when he speaks Spanish. because I guess he kind of speaks it in like a really like he's got a real English accent when he's speaking Spanish. Like it's so aggressive, or maybe because he's translating it literally in his head from English to Spanish, or maybe because he just doesn't speak it too tough. His Spanish sounds a little bit more rough and crass compared to everybody else. But this is pretty cool. Look, he's smiling, he's chilling with these guys, handing this guy a chain, letting him wear it. He looks genuinely happy when he's around these people, and way more at ease because he knows no one there is gonna want to stomp him out or blast his head off. Another clip. That's cool, man. I like it. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. I don't want to get flipping copyright strike, but he's definitely looking like he's having fun, having a good time, and doing what needs to be done. And it's funny. Maybe he literally got the beats broke off him. Whatever happened to people say on the internet? I can't even say it. My mouth is flipping going all gammy. But maybe that actually did humble him somewhat finally, and he's now in a place where he can be kind of maybe revive his career and kind of just live a somewhat normal life, because he kind of got given a second chance in life, which I don't think he deserved personally, because I still think the guy's a flipping scumbag, especially for the flipping that thing that happened. Who's that kid? I forgot the name. I think it might be Kuda B. That was a one snitching thing that really kind of threw me off. I was like, because the story goes, he got one of the guys from Treyway called Kuda B, and he paid him money to basically go and kill Chief Keef. So he put a hit out on Chief Keef, gave Kuda B the money and said, hey, go kill this guy. And I guess Kuda B didn't do it well. And and then when the kid gets arrested, and they all get arrested, on that RICO, he ends up snitching on the guy, and that guy goes to prison, he comes out. Like, the American justice system is messed up. How can you put a hit on somebody, but then you snitch and you come out before the person you put? I mean, it's ridiculous. So I thought that was egregious to say the least. But anyway, that's gone now. Here's another clip as well on DJ Academic's account showing 6ix9ine in the hood in DR. As you can't see, this is in DR, surrounded by loads of the Dominican Republic goons. I love Dominican Republic guys, because they're the kind of guys that like, you're so no, what they say? You're so no black, not so black, not so black. But then you look at them all in the flipping face, guys, you're black. I love Dominican Republic guys. Like the way they kind of look at themselves in terms of the way they identify themselves is really interesting. They don't see themselves as black at all. They just see themselves primarily as Dominican Republic, or as Dominican, sorry. They don't see themselves as black at all in the slightest, even though some of them over there are blacker than me, which is absolutely hilarious. But anyway, 6ix9ine surrounded by those goons, having a good time. They don't look like they're having the greatest time, but he's got all his jewels on. He's feeling comfortable, and clearly they're filming a video there, and it's probably going to go off. Okay, you see that, but yeah, big up him. Hopefully he chills out and does his thing, and it all basically goes amazing. Oh yeah. Shades cow, do they fade, mate? The fades. No, I hope you're talking about haircuts. I'm gonna say the best haircuts I've ever received in my life. Two countries. Two countries. The best haircuts I've received in my life was when I went to Barcelona to run the Barcelona half marathon. I think it might be like 2017, 2018 time. For some, I guess in Barcelona, for the most part, I think most of the immigrants out in Barcelona, I think all the bodegas and off licenses and places that you go buy drinks from, they're usually owned by Chinese people or Indian people, I saw. But then all the barbers that you go and get haircuts from, like, because in the UK, most of the places that you get haircuts from, if you want to get like a good fade, they obviously, you've got African shops that do good haircuts and Caribbeans, but sometimes the other ones who are really good and can cut Afro hair are Turkish people. But in Barcelona, it's all Dominicans. So Dominicans have got that barbershop game on lock. And I walked into a random Dominican place before I was going to go for my run on the Sunday in Barcelona. And that's where I got one of the best fades I've ever got in my entire life. Legit. It took like 2 hours to do. And the guy was kind of jumping on his phone every 2 minutes and dancing and drinking and shit. But by the end, when I left, that haircut was incredible. Like Dominicans, they know how to cut hair. them motherfuckers, them niggas, they don't think they are, but them niggas, they can flip and cut hair. The second place where I went where I got the best fade in my life was Mexico. Mexico City, to be precise. Mexico City, I went there, I forgot what year, maybe 2019 or something, and legitimately that might have been #1 fade I've ever got in my life. Like, to the point where he faded the sides of my beard and shit. Like, it was HD. fucking D. One of the best haircuts I've ever got. So I think about those guys often, because the haircuts I'm getting now in the hood with these flipping Ghanaian uncles and shit is not good. And I'm paying like £30 for my haircuts now because the price, inflation in it. I used to pay like 20 quid. Now it's gone up to fucking £30, and the haircuts aren't good. It's like half an hour. He's just using one flipping razor clip and shit. It feels like he's punching your head when he's cutting your hair, but you just have to make do with it because it's the only ones that you have available. It's really crazy. But man, I miss the barbers in flipping Barcelona, Dominican guys, and I miss my guys over in Mexico City, man. I miss them so much. What we were saying here in the chat, Afro-Latinas. Yes, exactly. Uche knows. Afro-Latinas. That's what they refer themselves to, yeah. Yo soy Afro-Latina. CDMX is fire. Nashesky said, yeah, I dated an Irish dude and he was obsessed with this Dominican barber he found in Bushwick. They loved him in there. Yeah, of course. See, I told you. Honestly, once you find those guys, legit, if I found a Dominican barber in London, I'm traveling 2 hours. I don't care where he lives. I'm coming to your house. I'm telling you, hey, forget about hanging out with your kid. I need a haircut. I am legitimately traveling to you. I love that so much, man. I used to actually do it quite often when I used to go away. I used to kind of always jump on it because I think I'm actually doing it when I go to Berlin, because I think for some reason now there's been a huge surge in good people cutting good haircuts over there too. So I may have to try that also. But let's see what I'll go on. Moving on from that one. Moving on from this. Let's talk about this quickly. So this is news I want to quickly cover because I thought this was kind of interesting. So I'm not just sure some of you guys know, but this player called Achraf Hakimi, he's a star player over at PSG, one of the highest earners over there, and just a really good player, big star, plays at right back and just phenomenal at football overall. He's been accused of rape by this young lady. She accused him of rape, right? And in the process of that, he's now basically getting divorced from his long-term wife. And this news has kind of gone viral, and it's really interesting the way the internet kind of spins stories. So this story's gone viral that says the following: PSG star Achraf Hakimi wife filed for divorce and wanted more than half of the Moroccan footballer's property and fortune. When they arrived in court, they realized that Achraf Hakimi had nothing. Achraf Hakimi had put his entire fortune under his mother's name a long time ago. So if you're not familiar with him, whenever Hakimi is playing, especially from Morocco, he's always kind of pictured in the crowd, basically kissing his mum. And, you know, everyone kind of calls him basically like probably his mother's boy. But the funny thing about this story that everyone's basically saying, because I think they're all kind of saying on the internet, the wife tried to basically pull money from him, and that's why she got what she deserved, because now there's no money in his name that she can take in a divorce settlement. But the actual real story here, isn't the fact that he was able to kind of, be smart and look ahead of time and be able to be in a position where he can maybe put the money in his mum's name. The real issue here is that the reason why his wife is divorcing him in the first place is because he cheated on her. And it was even more egregious than that. It was more so because, if I'm reading the story correctly, she went away with the kids, and he brought back some random slows back home and ended up, whatever situation ended up transpiring there in the home, whether it's consensual or not consensual. But everyone is still basically saying it's a win, even though he's the one in the wrong. And now he's being charged or being accused of raping that young lady. But people kind of just viewing it in the idea of like, oh, finally there's one guy at least who hasn't had to kind of give up half of his fortune in the divorce just because he's the only one that ends up kind of winning, or he happens to be the one that's making the most money. I don't really understand how people kind of have that kind of opinion, to be fair, because more than likely as well, because again, we don't know, it's alleged, right? He's been accused of rape, but he hasn't been kind of charged in a court of law. But one thing that we do know, more than likely, even if he did do it, he'll probably get away with it because he's a professional footballer, because he's somebody, of some level of fame, he's got money and stuff. These things rarely stick when it comes to these big high profile footballers. So even if he did do it, he's going to be able to get away with it. and his wife, who basically did the noble and honorable thing of breaking up with the guy who's being accused of rape, is probably going to be left short, short from it, and is going to have to kind of, restart her life, off her own back and stuff and whatnot, and get nothing from it. That's the kind of weird thing about this whole situation, but it is kind of a weird one to see. The internet has decided that he's the hero, and she's going to kind of have to kind of figure it out, but maybe it's a just situation, because I guess in most of these situations, women usually get the benefit of the doubt, and maybe people are kind of siding with that thing, but I still think it's a bit scummy, in my opinion, from it. Moving on from that, I want to quickly highlight this. I'm sure some of you guys have checked it out. I hope you have, and if you haven't, please do. This amazing documentary courtesy of Traplaw Ross, which is King Von, rap's first serial killer. It's doing crazy amounts of views. It's creating a bunch of conversation and controversy within hip-hop media and the community at large, but it was a really well put together flipping documentary. I think the original cut was closer to 4 hours. Now I think with some edits it's about 3 hours and a half, but it's still a really insightful documentary that basically details and kind of pieces together King Von's life before he passed away. And essentially Traplaw Ross, who's a kind of hip-hop documentarian, he basically put this documentary together that is maybe alleging that King Von he's maybe some way responsible for more than 10 bodies. He may have personally killed more than 10 people during his very short time on this earth, and especially during his time rapping, which is pretty nuts. I think most people that kind of were fans of his music, myself included, knew that he was really about this life and clearly kind of lived his raps. And it also wasn't all just like a work of fiction. But I don't think most of us kind of had in our heads that he had 10. I think at the last time of me checking, when I was kind of locked in on his music, I think I kind of had in my head that maybe 5, people that he may have had on his jacket. But now Traplaw Ross is basically alleging he may have more than 10 on there. But for some reason, this has created some big controversy within the kind of community in hip hop, and people in Chicago are really upset and basically saying that Traplaw Ross is basically adding to the troubles and to the beef that's going on there by highlighting all the people that King Von may have killed before he was killed, and essentially saying that Traplaw Ross may be responsible for people seeking revenge and retaliation because of what they may have learned on the documentary. But I still think, in my opinion, as maybe somewhat tasteless as some of these channels can be on YouTube, because there's a bunch of them, where these YouTube channels that basically highlight and somewhat promote and glorify all of the kids out there who are spinning on their ops and, essentially doing what they're doing in their raps and whatnot. Even though there's some stuff can be really tasteless, I think at the core of it, the only way to stop all of this stuff from happening is to get the rappers themselves to stop killing each other. That's the main part of it, to get these guys to, to get them out of gangs, to maybe improve their situations wherever they live in their local area, maybe to kind of, push the politicians to invest more in resources and things that kids can do so they don't have to resort to joining gangs for protection or picking up a gun and stuff. Those are the things that need to be done, I feel like, first, to kind of get things back to some semblance of normality before you start blaming people online who are essentially reporting on stuff that's said. Because the Traplaw Ross documentary, for the most part, all of the stuff that he's been able to pull has been from King Von's own Twitter account, because there's been periods of time where he's been tweeting about, killings before they've even made it on the news. So clearly he's had some information, he's linked to it or something. So it's even that brazen. Or his raps, or his Instagram lives and stuff. But it's all stuff that he's said himself, and now people associated with King Von or associated with O Block or associated with Little Dirk or whatever it may be are now upset that YouTubers are basically piecing it together and putting it into documentaries, getting views from it, making money from it, or promoting it, or basically highlighting to his ops what he actually may have done. But all that information is already out there already, so put that blame on these journalists is unfair. I think they may contribute some part to it, but I think putting all the information or blame on them is really unfair. I think the blame needs to be kind of equally partitioned out to all parties in terms of what they do, in terms of how they're affecting people's lives overall. But I think to blame precisely Traplaw Ross is unfair. But that aside, YouTube documentary wise, it's phenomenal. The amount of work that went into it is crazy. Really well done documentary. Loads of bits and pieces that I kind of forgot about along the way, because again, like I said, I was a huge King Von fan when he was around, and he kind of, he was kind of gone too soon and kind of didn't get a chance to really fulfill his potential. Welcome to O Block is still an absolute slapper as well, so check that out if you need a good album to smash on the gym whilst you're lifting weights. It's a real big one. I really enjoyed that one, but in general, it's a really well put together documentary, and I really recommend you check it out if you haven't already. And even if you don't know much about King Von, I think Traplo Ross is a really good, he's able to kind of present that stuff really well. So even if you're not a fan of the music or you don't know nothing about King Von, he's definitely gonna make you interested and kind of keep you locked in. Documentary title is King Von, Rap's First Serial Killer. If you want to check it out, It's available on YouTube, and it's doing bits already, numbers on there, and people are absolutely loving it. So please check it out if you haven't already. Next on the list here, quickly want to mention is this. This is courtesy of RA. It's regarding London's Body Movement Festival, which is definitely one of the better festivals that we have here in London. And they've now announced some stage hosts for 2023. So it says as follows: East London Body Movement Festival has announced stage hosts for its 2023 edition. Going down on Saturday, July 29th, the queer-focused all-dayer will take over 16 industrial spaces, including 3 new ones in Hackney Wick. More than 20 LGBTQ plus collectives will host stages such as Budokai, Queer Bruck, Chapter 10, Rap Party, T4T Love Energy, Jungle Kitty, Femme Fresh, however you say that word, Queer House Party, and T-Boys Club. This year's official charity partner is London Trans Pride, with £1 donation from each ticket sale going towards funding their work. Here's a charity fundraising initiative. The full list of stage shows is available below. The artist lineup is still TBA. So obviously you got it there. Body Movement Festival happening in 24th of July. So I'm definitely eager to check that out as well. But a part of me is also wondering, they're now kind of expanding the stage shows. They're putting it in different places, new spaces and whatnot. It's going to be a real big affair. I'm wondering overall, right? I'm really wondering what happens when this ends up going critical mass. What happens when all the normies end up going there? Because I've said it before, but in London especially, I'm not sure what it is like out in the UK, but in London, all the best parties in London, the ones you have the best fun in and you have the greatest time and you flipping sweat your face off, are the queer LGBTQ plus nights. Those are the best parties for the most part. All the other parties where they book the same old, top 50 mixed mag DJs and the bait business techno guys and all the bait TikTok techno guys and gals, they're all a bit boring. These guys put on the best parties, but obviously these parties aren't really made for me, right? They're not made for, hetero, cisgendered guys like me. They make them for their people from their community to kind of create a quasi safe space for them to kind of dance and kind of have fun at. But over time, people like myself get attracted to those parties. We want to go, we want to hang out, want to have fun, and we maybe water it down a bit, and we maybe just ruin the vibe overall over time. So I'm wondering, how are they going to be able to kind of keep the vibe and that the specialness they have about that space kind of intact, despite getting bigger and obviously, you'd imagine, more regular people kind of turning up there. Like, how do you make that happen? I'm not too sure, to be honest, but big up them regardless. Hopefully they work it out, and I can't wait anyway, because I'm going to be there 29th of July. Definitely going to be skanking around there, because it's definitely somewhere that I can go and have fun, let my head down, and not take myself too seriously. We've been seeing in the chat here, said, Ago, are you going to Dekmantel this year? No Dekmantel para me. I think the only festival that I'm going to be trying to do is Houghton, which I ended up not doing last year. So if I'm going to do a festival, it'll probably be Houghton. Dekmantel might be a bit of a stretch for me this year. Mostly because I haven't been just yet. It's abroad. I'm probably going to be doing loads of mini trips again all over the place, so it might be a bit of a stretch to go to, but I would like to go one day. But I think the only trip that I will do, or festival, sorry, I will do, like in terms of staying somewhere for a prolonged period of time, is definitely Houghton, which is definitely taking place in the UK, so easy to transport to and whatnot. But I definitely need to go, because I kind of pussied out of it last year. I made excuses, so I want to follow through and do Houghton this year. But Dekmantel for sure, I'll be trying to do sometime in the future. And talking about Dekmantel, funny you bring that up. This news is interesting, right? This news courtesy of RA. Dekmantel partners with Whore, or how you pronounce it, Hore. How do you pronounce that word? I think it's Whore. It should be whore, right? Do I pronounce it right? Let's see what this says here. I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. You pronounce it hore, right? German to English. Let's see what it says here on Google. German to English. It should be hore. Okay, cool. My bad. Let's just translate. Let's get rid of the word German. Let's just do this. It's called here. Okay, how you pronounce it?
Hor.
Hor. Okay.
Hor.
Hor. Okay, hor. Anyway, this is a really good, interesting article because this kind of confirms what I kind of spoke about before and maybe some rumors I heard about prior. So it says Dekmantel partners with Hor, which means that the rumor that was kind of spreading within the dance music scene that Boiler Room has some sort of falling out with Dekmantel is somewhat true, and that they wouldn't be returning again 2023 onwards, because I think the last event that they did with them was 2020, and that was a big deal because I feel like Boiler Room did a really good job of kind of promoting Dekmantel to the masses, especially someone like myself. I'm not too sure if I would have heard of Dekmantel if it wasn't for Boiler Room streams of it. And I think a lot of artists, also a lot of DJs, definitely got a bump in their bookings from having their live stream featured on Boiler Room that they were playing at Dekmantel. So it kind of worked hand in hand, you know. Dekmantel got to jump onto the live stream thing by using Boiler Room's name and notoriety in the scene, and then Boiler Room obviously got to legitimize themselves by having a very long established and respected festival, also kind of trust them to do the live stream. But something changed along the way. I think just to be sensible and not to kind of, pontificate about nonsense, most likely what happened is that because Boiler Room got bought by Dice, you would assume they had different ideas and prerogatives that they wanted, and maybe Dekmantel didn't fit into that, and maybe they want to, partner up with another festival, or maybe they just don't want to do the whole festival live stream thing anymore. Who knows? But I have a feeling most likely because Dice bought Boiler Room, they probably decided, hey, we want to go a different direction. Or it could be that the Boiler Room guys legitimately did have a falling out with Dekmantel. But regardless, this is a big look for horror for them. This is a really big look because they're essentially a really small kind of platform, live streaming platform, but they've kind of grown exponentially in the last few years. And when they started, they were mostly just a platform that kind of promoted people from Berlin or within surrounding areas, and they kind of were the kind of de facto European sort of Boiler Room platform, but with a little bit more of an authentic, I think, grassroots sort of like feel to them. They haven't felt like they've sold out as quickly as Boiler Room. I feel like Boiler Room, as soon as the money from Ray-Ban started coming in, they went straight to the whole like Vice route of selling out as quickly as possible, getting as many sponsors as possible and brand deals as possible, instead of maybe kind of keeping it a little bit core. So this basically is a really good look for horror and where they are in the culture now, that Dekmantel will kind of want to align with them, and maybe it kind of speaks to, their kind of longevity now in the industry, because you imagine this is going to probably be a multi-year kind of deal that they kind of sign, especially if it ends up kind of popping up and going well. And I'm also curious as well if this is going to be something that may spurn them to do their own festival. They may end up sometime in the future deciding, hey, Horror needs their own festival too. Anyway, this is the article courtesy of RA. It says Amsterdam Festival Dekmantel has revealed details of a new stage in collaboration with Berlin streaming platform Horror. Launching in August, Radar will replace the Boiler Room stage. See, that's a new one. Which is part of the festival since 2013. Jesus Christ. So the new stage is going to be Radar. All sets from Radar will be live streamed on Horror. The festival also revealed new acts including Luke Slater, oh, that's amazing, Interplanetary Criminal, Wow, Knife, Olaf Derger, Shanti Celeste, Peach, Gabriel Kwarteng was amazing, Isabella will go back to back. All of these artists will play at the Radar stage alongside the likes of DJ Stingray, Avalon Emerson, Paris Smith, Liv Wu-Tang, and were announced back in January. Horror recently launched a pop-up studio in London, and it will run throughout April. But that is pretty sick, man. Pretty sick lineup of people there. Really eager to see some of that. What date is that going to be on? That's in August. August date for Dekmantel coming up. Ticket prices are pretty pricey as well. If I'm going to just double check here, courtesy of RA, and see what they're saying. I know you can't actually buy tickets, so you have to check somewhere else. But look at the list of people. Absolutely crazy good list of people playing. Let's actually just double check and see. Where can you get it? Where's the ticket link from there? It's not here. No ticket links there. You can't get them there. I want to just see how much they're charging. I think it's like €100, no? Let's see. Dekmantel. Is it €100? Let's see. Pro tickets. Are they even available just yet, or the tickets not available? I think it should be. If it's in August, it should already there should already be tickets already listed. If it's happening in August for sure. Let's just double check the website and see if it's gonna be on there. You got here, okay, you got tickets there. What's it saying? Oh, it's still going shop. Let's see how much they're gonna be. I'm gonna say something like €100. It'll make more sense. But I think the reason Dekmantel's a bit misty for me is that, if I'm not mistaken, Dekmantel take place, it's not really in Amsterdam, it's like kind of outside, if I'm not mistaken. So you kind of have to get and also you got to sleep on the grounds or get a combination near and then cycle back and forth and walk. It's a bit long from what I've heard. Maybe I'm not right, but okay. So 3-day festival passes have sold out. They've only got 4-day ones and they're $225, which is not bad. That's quite a good deal. This is what I mean about when I saw Skankfest during my flipping random show live stream. I was really getting flipping, and I was shocked at how much Skankfest tickets were in Las Vegas. Skankfest tickets to go see crazy, to go see basically somewhat unknown comics. They're not unknown for the most part, but for the most part, most guys only listen to flipping LA stuff and all the big guys. A lot of those guys on Skankfest I don't really know too well. So to go pay $400 plus to go see them do, stand up and whatnot and listen to their live podcasts, is a bit much, especially when you think about what you get from these festivals here in Europe. You get, for $225 for festival day ticket to go and see, hundreds of DJs play across 4 days on different stages in one of the best cities in the world, in Amsterdam. It just feels a little bit like a tight one to go and it just feels a little bit hard to justify $400 to go see flipping comedians in Las Vegas, for me personally. But I remember somebody saying in my chat actually that Las Vegas is like that anyway, day to day. It's kind of expensive. I think someone said in my chat that allegedly, like, to go see a comedy show in Las Vegas, just a regular one, is something like $150 or something per ticket, just because it's Las Vegas. So I guess Las Vegas is kind of maybe like Dubai, where because of the location, it's just more expensive. It doesn't mean it's actually the value of the whatever you're getting. But yeah, the ticket prices look pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie, pretty good festival. But like I said, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do. Okay, Lewis Shire just telling me in the chat, no, it's pretty close to Amsterdam Central. Okay, cool. Maybe I haven't done my research. I haven't done many research into it, so I might need to check it out. But let's see. If I'm able to do 2 in 1 year like that, Houghton and flipping Dekmantel, that'd be pretty decent. But knowing me and knowing the amount of trips I go to, especially with the flipping, I'm basically in Berlin like once per month, so that already kind of eviscerates my funds. But if I'm able to flipping do 2 in a year and do Dekmantel and do Houghton, that's going to be pretty sick. So maybe I might look into that actually, because that's looking kind of meaty. And for $225, that might be something worth to kind of check out. Next, I want to quickly highlight is this news courtesy of Mixmag. Unfortunate news for this individual. Felix Hall steps down from NTS and removed from lineups after sending death threats and anti-Palestinian abuse. This guy was definitely off the shits randomly one day. So it says the following: Felix Hall has stepped down from his regular slot at NTS and has been removed from the club and festival lineups after multiple DJs spoke out about abusive experiences with the London-based DJ and radio host, including sending them death threats and anti-Palestinian hate speech. How do you get into that just randomly? You're just at home one day and you just start sending people random shit. Anyway, it continues. On April 11th, New York-based artist Rainstick, real name Anthony Lowe, posted a statement on Instagram saying that Hall had sent completely unprovoked violent Zionist messages, including vile death threats against my family. Let's see these messages. I want to see these death threats against my family. This is pretty hilarious. God almighty, what was he doing? He was probably off the shits, probably in a ket dive. We've all been there, I think, in some manner or way. But this is a statement from him. He says, Friday, April 7th, DJ and label owner Felix Hall, Chrome Records, sent me a completely unprovoked, violent Zionist message, including vile death threats against my family. I did not respond or open the messages. He then blocked me. That's a bit of a lie, though, isn't it? How could you see the messages but not respond to them? Anyway, completely. Let's move. Upon sharing screenshots with multiple friends in the music community, I learned that he also menaced at least 2 other people, a female musician of color, with Zionist messages that this may be a pattern of anti-Palestinian behavior. Why is it important that she's a female of color, by the way? If he doesn't matter who he sends them to, they're pretty bad, isn't it? But anyway, let's just continue. I have no personal history with Felix, and neither did the other musicians he attacked, as far as I know. Our common thread was that either supporting Palestine or being Palestinian. My partner is Palestinian, hence the family death threats. I also have heard from musicians who believe Felix stopped speaking to them because of their support of Palestine. Oh, this guy's crazy. Look at Claire Fifi trying to jump on, get some clout points there. Get out of here, man. Anyway, I did not wish to deal with this publicly, but I must inform these in my community with him or for their own safety. Felix's own statement about his attacks hides the truth. It does not explicitly address or condemn the extreme violence and bigotry he has expressed. He only commits to healing his mental health and alcoholism, is manipulative and places himself as a victim. Next page. He urges communication but turned off comments on his posts as soon as community members began engaging. His repeated actions show he is trying to hide the truth of his behaviors. Weaponizing mental health is disingenuous. Felix is taking advantage of this, drumming up sympathy with no questions asked. Racist death threats are not a consequence of grief, and they do not simply cause offense. Imagine that. I only called you those racist things because my dad died. Like, what? What does your dad dying have to do with that? It's kind of similar to when, like, that time that PewDiePie was playing flipping Call of Duty and just randomly said nigger. Like, randomly, just getting shot and getting killed. Like, nigger! With, like, a hard R. Like, why go on for this? Like, why is it the first thing you say when you get duppied in a game? Like... Anyway, apologies like this void the context and public discourse and are deeply dangerous, and so is liking or condemning them. Oh, all right, mate. Liking a post is fucking dangerous, is it? Give your head a wobble, go for a jog. Anyway, clubs are spaces of protest and resistance and refuge. What? Really? Have you been to Fabric? Has this guy ever been to Fabric? I don't think that's a space of protest, resistance, or refuge. They serve you drinks in plastic cups. What? Someone who is both unstable and radicalized cannot share safe spaces, especially with those already more at risk. I'm urging those closest to Felix to ensure he gets the proper care. This is unacceptable behavior for anyone, but especially a privileged British person who has made a career of music of marginalized people of color. All right, relax. Reggae and reggaeton are resistance music. The people's music Zionists have no business playing it. Yeah, you might as well tell Benji that as well, innit? Tell Benji to stop playing Amapiano then. Like, shut up. But anyway, he's got a point. I just want to say, who's like, in terms of being mentally unstable and also just being complete cunts, who's worse, podcasters or DJ? No, who's worse out of podcasters? Yeah, I'm gonna ask the poll. I want to do it in the chat. Who's got the biggest ego? Yeah, let's just ask this in the chat here. Who has the biggest ego? Who has the biggest ego? Let's see. Let's write DJs. Stand-up comedians. Stand-up comedians. Add another one. Let's do podcasters. Because I think it's quite neck and neck. All three, I think, is quite neck and neck. I can't really, I can't really kind of pick out of them. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say stand-up comedians, because they legitimately think they're changing the world by telling jokes on stage. They honestly think they're changing the world. Definitely. But there's also a hint of maybe podcasters, because people who just sit in front of a microphone and just blabber like I do, some of them, especially the most successful ones, legitimately think they're way smarter than what they are, and they legitimately think they're changing the world with what they're doing also. But I just feel like, I don't know, man. yeah, damn it. Uche, please ban yourself from the chat. Uche burning me. You're two for free, mate. I feel attacked. I feel attacked. I feel exposed, and I feel seen. But I honestly don't know who to choose as worst kind of ego, because this is fucking crazy, man. This is fucking Felix Hall, the son of Terry Hall, born on fucking born on third base, got the hell of a life, grandfathered in, and this is what he's doing. Anyway, continuing. In a statement sent to Mixed Mag, Lowe said, "I have never before had a personal issue with Felix Hall. The issue is the bigotry, racism and violence he's displayed and the greater dangers they represent. Since Hall's public statement, several musicians have appeared to step forward to share their experience with Hall, including..." Why does everyone keep saying this? Like, what is this about dance music? We have to keep mentioning where you're from, your nationality or your race. North African DJ. Like, I think we'd kind of guessed that she was North African based on her name. Does it really matter? Like, I think it's only in flipping dance music that it matters. London based, Iraqi born, London raised, Swedish helmed. Like, what is all this shit about where you're from? As if it matters. Are you good or not? Can you mix yeah or nay? Can you make us dance yay or nay? Anyway, let's continue. North African DJ Marwa Belhaj Youssef, who posted a screenshot of the Instagram of an Israeli flag emoji. She received a message from Hall 2 days before Lowe's statement. It goes here, Marwa told Mixmag that she had never had a conversation with Hall prior to receiving the message early in April. Most guys are like sliding into girls' DMs to basically hook up or to see if, you know, if they can hang out or take them out for dinner. And this guy is sliding into random girls' DMs and basically attacking them with Zionist messages. Absolutely psychopath this guy is. He's a danger for the scene, which should be a safe space for all of us. No, bruv, the only safe space you have is your house. And sometimes that's not even safe. Do you know what I mean? Unless you got a blicky under your pillow. Like, there is no such thing as a safe space. It continues. Manuka Honey also posted a statement on Twitter on Tuesday, 11th of April, stating that her own experience with four years ago. Okay, cool. Let's see this. I want to see this one. Let's see this one. 4 years ago, Felix Hall took my USB and scribbled. I'm not going to say it, but you know what it is. Let's see what this is saying. Uche's saying you're not like the rest. Yeah, thank you. That's very comforting. I'm different than the other guys, not like the other guys. Honestly, that was so brutal. I don't know why I didn't even see that myself. Like, you're 2 for 3, mate. I should have seen that when I was typing it myself. What an absolute idiot. I proper set myself up there. But anyway, continuing. It says here, this person, they say, 4 years later, I'm finally speaking up about my experience with Felix Hall. Rob, listen and flipping notes app with a heading and everything and paragraphs. She's definitely angry. It continues. Felix Hall's Zionism, misogyny and threats of abuse. Felix Hall's harmful behavior is devastating yet unfortunately unsurprising to me. This is a person who lies about or is purposely ambiguous about his heritage in order to cosplay as a Latino man. Terry Hall's not fucking Latino. What? Felix Hall's he's Terry Hall's son. How can he be fucking Latino? Cosplay as Latino. He's trying to cosplay as my favorite barbers, Dominican barbers, isn't it? Hey, papi, venga. Anyway, continue. As a Latino man, has refused to perform before me on a lineup claiming to be a better DJ and rescinded booking me after I refused to sleep with him. Oh, that's brutal. That's what I'm wondering as well. I'm thinking about this as well. I put the poll up already. Let's see the poll of who's got the big what's my questions here? I said who has the biggest ego, and people are saying stand-up comedians more so and podcasters second. People are not voting for DJs at all. Okay, cool. I'm thinking for a woman coming up in the industry, what's the most toxic and harmful place to be, like for your safety in terms of maybe getting assaulted in some way? Podcasting community, I don't think so, because you can kind of kind of isolate yourself from everybody. But what's more harmful? Where would you come more in harm's way? Stand-up culture scene, in comedy clubs or in nightclubs? I'm gonna say nightclubs just because it's dark and people are on tour and you're in hotel rooms and shit. I think nightclubs are probably more. There's probably that kind of DJ scene has more of an option or more of a possibility of something crazy going on. But this seems to be a standard thing a lot of these guys do. And I always wondered why they do that to other fellow DJs. Like, this kind of game would make more sense if you're, talking to. It's a bit weird anyway, and it's kind of creepy on its own. But I would imagine this kind of game would work better with like fans. Like, fans would probably be more willing to sleep with you just because you're famous. as opposed to an up and coming artist, you know? Because if anything, if you're a girl, even if you're single, even if you don't mind, you don't mind hooking up with randoms, it's probably not advisable to hook up with somebody who's trying to give you, who's saying you should hook up with them because they're going to promise you something, because it's probably going to damage how you're viewed and it's going to hurt you long term in the scene overall. It's probably wiser to probably say no, even though it probably will also impact you, than it is to kind of agree with it. It's going to get messy. It's going to get murky. It's like sleeping with people at work. It just never works out in the long term. I don't think. Anyway, there's some occasions where it does. You know, you got work colleagues who kind of hook up and end up getting married and stuff. But for the most part, it just makes stuff messy. So maybe in this scene, if you're coming up as a DJ and you're a woman and stuff, you're probably best to kind of just avoid all of it. And if someone does say, just politely decline and keep it moving. Or not politely decline, tell them to go fuck themselves, but still, it's probably not a good idea. And I don't know why the guys keep doing it to other artists. You're better off trying to fuck a random on tour than another artist, I would assume. But hey, what do I know? How many times will he be excused for his actions, this person says, on the tune of mental health until real accountability comes into play? I hope the people close to him who see and recognize his wrongdoings will call him in. It takes a lot for me to post something like this, but I have tried in the past to speak to Felix in private, and he ridiculed, then blocked me. Free Palestine, solidarity with Muslim and Arab community and the people he has harmed. Bloody hell, brother. This Felix Hall guy sounds like an absolute piece of shit, doesn't he? Hall responded to the allegations on Instagram, but has since deactivated his profile. The statement said he is struggling with mental health, that old chestnut, eh? And was attempting to come to terms with the death of his father, Terry Hall of the Specials, who passed away in December. That is absolutely scumbag behavior, to be fair. You get accused of sending people Zionist messages, abusing people, you know, in some way sexually harassing others, and then you try and use the memory of your dead dad as a way to kind of protect yourself. That is psychotic scumbag behavior. Using the memory of your dead dad as a human shield, who's a legend in his own right, is absolutely horrible. The guy is turning in his grave, mate. Awful. An unhealthy relationship with alcohol is also unfortunately present. Yeah, I am absolutely determined to both address and change in all possible way. Nihal, a Cairo-based DJ and NTS host, responded to Hall's apology, stating that this is an insult to people who've experienced grief. Okay, experienced grief. No apology was given. Manages to somehow frame Felix as a victim and dangerously weaponize his mental health and grief as reasons behind racist and violent behavior. Exactly, that's a better way to put it. The no apology was given. Manages to somehow frame Felix as a victim and dangerously weaponize his mental health and grief as reasons behind the racist, violent behavior. Yeah, this Felix Hall guy sounds like a piece of shit. In a statement sent to Mixmag, Nihal added, Nihal added, people in solidarity with Palestine and anti-racists in general should not be shying away from having difficult conversation with people in their circles, even if it causes friction. Felix Hall has now made a decision. This is funny, right? Because NTS seem to be unwilling to do anything when it comes to these type of situations. NTS didn't even sack him. He stepped away first. NTS is slightly like the live radio station. It's slightly like the dance music equivalent of fucking Daily Caller or some shit, innit? Slyly. They don't like getting involved at all in the slightest. Felix Hall has now made the decision to leave his regular show on NTS, which he had since 2016. We are made aware of the situation on the weekend, and obviously we were shocked and upset, NTS told Mixmag. Felix had decided to step down from his show, which we agree is best course of action. NTS does not tolerate any form of bigotry. But they didn't even fire him. They let him step away. Easy PR win where they could have kind of made themselves look good and they don't. Stupid. London Gardens Festival has removed Felix Hall from the lineup. Ted, he's going to go perform at Gala, okay? This festival posted a statement on social media April 11th saying, we are saddened to learn the comments made by Felix Hall recently. We have zero tolerance to hateful speech, blah, blah, blah. Hall's also scheduled to perform at venue MOT on April 9th, but also removed from the bill. French label Few Crackles has released his tunes. Have also put a statement condemning him. So yeah, basically you get condemned all round. It's basically a wrap for him until further notice. But he'll be fine. If he's using his dad's memory as a flipping human shield, then he'll probably use his dad's money to basically prop himself up for the meantime. Absolute piece of shit. Stay out there in the cold, do your thing. But then moving on from that one, I want to quickly mention this, which I thought was interesting because I wondered what's happened with the guy. I wonder it right now. What's happened with Lobster Ferryman founder Jimmy Asquith? I covered this before on my podcast regarding him, and essentially he was accused of sexual assault and grooming by I think one person who had a pretty heartbreaking story about coming down to London from Scotland because of him, and he basically took advantage of her allegedly. And some unfortunate circumstances or things happened, which basically that person accused him of sexual assault and whatnot, and then he ended up having to basically put a statement out, basically saying he's going to take some time away. And since then, I've been I check from time to time on RA and stuff, and he hasn't been booked anywhere, nowhere. So he hasn't come back off the back of this. And I wonder if this is probably the first legit cancellation I've seen in dance music. I don't think you see them that often. Usually people kind of have to go away for a bit and then they come back again because people want to book them and stuff. They've got a name, they need to make some money, wherever it may be, and they kind of come back and people maybe just forget. But with this one, in terms of Asquith, number one, I haven't seen him get booked anywhere anytime soon, unless people are not putting him on bills on Lineup Story and still booking him behind the scenes. And of course, his Instagram meme account, I forgot the name of it. I think it might have been Katsoof or something like that. That account hasn't been updated since the allegations transpired either. So this is kind of the other side of like dance music counterculture, where like it does work for some people and other people it doesn't work for. And I'm just wondering why in this particular case, it seemed to work for this guy, this Lobster Ferryman dude, but not for anybody else. Because I've got a feeling, as much as a piece of shit that Felix Hall sounds like, he's probably going to be able to kind of weather the storm, put his head down and pop back up again and pretend, like nothing happened. But for some reason, with Jimmy Asquith, it's not really worked out the same way. Maybe the severity of the crimes are maybe, the reasons why. Who knows? That could probably be part of the reason. Like if you get accused of, some could argue, if you take your position that you've got in culture to do great things and you take a bunch of people and you get accused of this, you probably shouldn't come back in any way, shape or form anyway. But I'm just wondering why it seems like his one seems to be sticking more. Like, where is Jimmy at? And if that's the case and he is actually cancelled, what is he actually doing now? I'm curious about that. Like, what is he actually doing now day to day? What is he doing to maybe change change his past behaviors to make it right with the other person who basically accused him of this? If that's at all possible. What's he doing for money just day to day? Like, what happens when you go from being like a pretty popular DJ who people seem to like? Because I feel like on social media he was kind of well liked also, because he seemed to have a pretty jovial manner online, not to take himself too seriously. The Instagram account was super popular at the time as well, and then it all kind of stops. What happens? What's life after like getting cancelled? Obviously the person that accused him, the victim, probably doesn't give a shit and probably hopes he flipping gets run over in traffic. That's understandable, but just as an outside perspective of somebody that's not involved in the slightest, I'm just curious to know what he's doing day to day. Like, what's happening there? I wonder. Is he working in Tesco's? Is he just chilling out? Is he playing under a pseudonym? Like, what's the deal? I'm really, really curious, because let's see what was his final statement because he released a statement on Twitter when it actually happened. And I've got it here on the screen. What did he actually say at the end of it? Like, what was the final statement there? The final page of the statement that he read, because I think it was like 4 pages. It was quite a lot. There was a lot of words that he put out there to kind of essentially refute this. What did he say? Given these lies and distortions of events. Oh, that's what he did, didn't he? He didn't actually admit it. He actually defended himself and said he didn't do it, which is a pretty ballsy move, to be fair. He says, I've worked in the electronic music industry for over 10 years and I've invested countless hours to artists, labels, colleagues, and many individuals who had aspirations and those who quite simply just wanted to take some advice or talk to. I have conducted myself as professionally as possible while growing and learning as a human being. During that time, I've had my own struggles with mental health, alcohol and substances. I'm sure there has been moments in these times where my behavior has been uncomfortable, but if that has ever been the case or if I've ever upset anyone, then I'm truly sorry for this. But since then, again, he hasn't been seen since then. So I wonder what the guy's doing day to day. I wonder what he's doing day to day. I really do. Just kind of curious from the outside looking in, but I'm sure most people out there don't give an absolute Scooby what he's doing day to day because of the offense that he committed, which is understandable, to be honest. Understandable in all its entirety. Moving on from that one, we have to talk about this. this is quite possibly one of the greatest hit pieces in fashion I've ever read in my entire life. And I think it's incredibly hilarious because it does kind of speak to the general unease and suspicion some people felt in the air when this story initially kind of leaked and went online. So I'm not sure most of you know, but this guy here called Roach, he's a very popular celebrity stylist who's more famous for his work recently with Zendaya. He went kind of viral a few months ago, where he basically put out Instagram post saying that he's retired from fashion because of just, stress or whatever. Maybe he didn't really expound and kind of reveal the reason why, but because he's so well known for his work with Zendaya and just a popular figure in his own right and stuff he's done on TV, everyone's just a bit shocked, like, oh my God, he's kind of retiring. What's going on? Blah blah blah. There was a big kerfuffle in fashion. Everyone was kind of lending their support and whatnot. And this came off the back of a clip going viral of him walking towards his seats to go watch a fashion show. I think it's for Louis Vuitton with Zendaya. Zendaya's in front of him. She goes and sits down on her chair, and Roach's chair or seat that he was meant to have is not available. So then he has to stand awkwardly as, Zendaya's sitting down and kind of looking around to see where his seat is. And obviously his seat doesn't, appear from thin air, and everybody kind of felt really bad for him, because I think in one way or the other we've all had those situations in our lives where we've kind of felt like we weren't really wanted or needed in the space due to these little micro type of aggression type of thing people do, by not having your name on the list, not having your seat reserved for you even though you reserved ahead of time, or booking, whatever it may be called. Everyone kind of felt a little bit sad and embarrassed for him. So seeing that video and also hearing the announcement of him saying he retired, everyone kind of put two and two together and thought, oh my God, the industry has kind of ground down another of our black stylist heroes, and it's crazy and it's sad. But there were some people also who were thinking, this is a bit of a press run. This feels a little bit purposeful. This feels like he's playing the game. And this feels like he's, this doesn't feel real. This doesn't feel authentic. There's something a bit sus about this. Something's up. And I guess it's now been proven in some part because of this hit piece that is titled Roach and the red carpet pilling of the styling industry. And it's really funny because this woman, Lauren Sherman, absolutely tears him apart and essentially says Roach is a bit of a cunt behind the scenes, and no one was surprised when he said he retired because he's a nightmare to deal with day to day. Like, he's a nightmare to deal with. And I kind of like these things because I feel like in the scene that I've kind of been in, loosely associated and whatnot in my own regard, I feel like I've come across many people who have been who I can kind of relate to. I've kind of come across with many people who kind of sound like the way this woman describes Roach. And they kind of get away with their, horrible behavior because they're pretty famous, because they're because they're good at what they do, or because they just have a name and notoriety in the industry. Maybe their work isn't good, but just because they're well known, people kind of forgive them for their bullshit behavior. And it never really sat well with me ever. And I think one of the reasons why I've never really been able to really succeed and make it in the scenes that I've kind of been in is because I don't have the ability to kind of put up with people treating me or talking to me like shit just because they're somebody well known, or just because they have got a good job on paper, or because they have got money, or because they know someone famous. I just could never handle disrespect that I felt like was disrespect, or just be able to kind of, smile and laugh at things that people say just because they're famous, even if they're not funny. I just could never do it. And I think it's not a good thing. Number one, I'm not kind of bragging about it. I think it's one of my kind of shortcomings where I'm not able to kind of maybe, I'm not kind of maybe able to kind of put up with things. My threshold for that kind of stuff is not as high as it probably should be. And I think in some ways and parts, if you're in this scene, or if you're in these little small subcultures and niches and industries, you kind of have to have an ability to kind of put up with bullshit. You kind of have the ability to kind of play the game a little bit. And if you play the game, it can sometimes lead to some level of success, especially if you feel like this stuff is your calling and the stuff that you want to actually do for the long term in your life, it's probably worth it to just, you know, laugh at a couple dumb jokes, be okay with going to get someone's coat if they tell you to go get it. I don't know, whatever. It probably is beneficial, but I just could never do it. And it kind of really, I think, probably hurt me in terms of not being able to maybe succeed in certain places. And maybe other things also, but I think that maybe is the main thing. But anyway, the article is absolutely brutal. The first line already, the first few lines, she kind of hits it out of the park, right? I'm going to read it here. This is courtesy of Lauren Sherman. Did you hear that Law Roach was retiring? Probably. Do you even know who Law Roach is? So bitchy. If you didn't before March 14th, the celebrity stylist head-scratching Instagram announcement made him famous enough for you to know him now. The story remained top of the mind for nearly a month, surviving Gwyneth Paltrow's award-worthy run of ski trial outfits and the spike in popularity of the word capacious. In short, Law, best known for styling Zendaya, Megan Thee Stallion, Celine Dion, and at one point Cardi B and Anna Taylor-Joy, declared just days after the Oscars that his cup was empty and that he was done with celebrity styling. The politics, this is a quote, the politics, the lies, and the false narratives finally got me. You win. I'm out, he said, noting that if this business was about clothes, I would do it just for the rest of my life, but unfortunately it's not. The comments spread like Ozempic's prescription through PR text chains and celebrity websites, with industry insiders, obsessives alike asking what really happened. Sure, it's a tough job, but why would one of the most revered and powerful celebrity stylists want to quit on the spot at the peak of their powers? And that's what everybody was thinking on social, right? Everybody's thinking on social, like, why is he quitting? What's going on? And of course, in those kind of, you know, what's that thing called? In like a typical attention-seeking way that some of these people are, he didn't explain it. Of course, didn't expound on it, put out some tweet, put out some statement, no explanation, no more clarification needed. Just you guys dance with that and get crazy. But people were scratching their chin like, something's up here. It continues. Roach has since deleted the post. I messaged him to ask why and I've yet to hear back. And yet he's still at top of the mind. Just last week, Roach flew to Mumbai to attend an event and where he walked the red carpet with Zendaya. The appearance will help to explicate what exactly Roach wants. Sure, he wants to support Zendaya, whose proliferating fame has benefited him financially and amplified his own celebrity. But at the end of the day, the guy also wants to be famous too, to be a brand unto himself, and to be famous for being famous, perhaps so that he doesn't have to be a stylist anymore, and famous enough that it's clear that his retirement is actually just semantics. This, again, brings me back to what I said before. There must be something about being famous or becoming or having some level of notoriety really late in life. There's definitely something about it that breaks your brain. And I think with Law Roach, again, I don't know much about the guy, but let's just double check here. I'm gonna guess he's an older gentleman. He's probably older than 20, right? Let's say age. Yeah, he's 44 years old, allegedly, right? Law Roach is 44 years old. I'm willing to bet Law Roach's success, like in mainstream culture, has only come about in probably the last 10 years or so, maybe even 5. If that's the case, there definitely has to be something to be said for the phenomenon of like making it really late in life, but then also being the type of person who always deep down knew that you were a star. Then when you finally do make it, it kind of turns you into a bit of a tyrant. You kind of turn into a bit of a diva because you're like, I deserve this. I should have had this way longer, way before. And then usually what ends up happening, like I've seen before in the industry, you end up getting in the industry and end up meeting some of your heroes and people that you think are really impressive. And it ends up turning out that the people that you think are really impressive and really smart aren't that impressive and aren't that smart. And then it makes you even more bitter and more pissed off that you had to spend so many years on the outside looking in, working bullshit jobs, not fulfilling your dreams, and these are the people that were kind of keeping you away from your dream, quote unquote, in a weird way. So I wonder if that kind of plays into it, that sort of thing, where you finally do make it, and then you make it and you just become a bit of a tyrant, a bit of a diva, and you just become a bit of a prick. I wonder if that's the thing that happens there. And in this case, Law Roach's case, maybe deep down he always thought he was a star also, and styling was just an opportunity to kind of get closer to the stars. And now he's got that star dust on him. He doesn't want to rush it off at all. Roach's behavior in front of camera, says in the quote in the article, Roach's behavior in front of the camera and his alleged behavior behind the scenes says a lot about the state of celebrity styling today and what a messy, sordid, unfair business it can be. We got a brief history of styling there. We don't need to read about that. Luxury brands. Oh, actually, the interesting thing about this is just the pay. That is one thing that I didn't really know about styling in terms of pay. I thought that was an interesting part. Let me see if I can find it here. There's a part here about the pay where it's kind of messy how it works out, to be fair. Yeah, let's see. It starts about here. Rachel Zoe, who parlayed her work into creating a media brand and other ventures, helped to pave the way, helped to pave an entrepreneurial pathway for the micro industry. Her ascent in the late aughts coincided with the regularization of pay-to-play model on the red carpet. At first, luxury brands were so prestigious that they did not have to offer anything but a free custom-fit dress to talent. However, as the red carpet became more powerful market tool, top actors used that to leverage to ask for more money. Initially, it was structured like an advertising or sponsorship contract. A star in our campaign, wear our gowns at least 3 times a year over the course of 5 years and we'll pay you 10 million. As competition increased, however, the campaigns was no longer always part of the equation. Visit an actress room at Cannes, for instance, and you might uncover 5 dresses hanging in her closet, each with an envelope containing a piece of paper with a dollar figure written in it. It's likely she'll be wearing a brand that's willing to pay her the most. The rule in general is that it all has a cost, one luxury executive reminded me. This is probably the reason why a lot of the red carpet looks are so horrible. This probably explains it. So imagine if you're an actress and you're in your changing room and you've got 5 different outfits picked out for you, all with an envelope inside it with a dollar amount, how much they're willing to pay if you wear that outfit. Most likely, you would imagine the brand with the worst outfit picked out for you, or the worst brand, will definitely give you the most money. It's just what it is, right? I'd imagine a Philip Plin probably pays way more than Dolce & Gabbana. So then you pick the Philip Plin suit and then you end up looking like an extra from the flipping Matrix in a bad way. That's probably the reason why people dress so terribly on red carpets, because they just go to whoever pays them the most. Pretty crazy game. It continues. But a cost to whom? This is where it gets tricky. Today, many brands still claim that they don't pay for red carpet placements, but most of them will if they have no other choice. And sometimes that means upwards of 100,000 for one appearance, and it could be plenty more if it's at the Oscars. Sometimes a brand will bake into another ask, like requiring the actor or actress to post on Instagram and tag their brand, calling it content creation. How the actor's team and hairstylists and manicurists and makeup artists and wardrobe stylists, not to mention all their assistants, gets paid is another question. So the brand pays the actress to wear the clothes, and then somehow the actor is meant to use that money to pay the team to help them put together the look. But I'm sure there are some actresses out there who are like, it's just clothes. What do I need really? Just get hair and makeup and then get to your friend to just your most, because I'm sure actors have at least one friend who likes fashion, right? And that friend is usually somebody who wears like skinny jeans and Gucci loafers or something. But at least they've all have one friend in their contact list who can dress well. Just get your friend to come down, and then they can help you out dressing, and you just keep all the money. That definitely explains why there's so many terrible looks on the red carpet, because why would you spend more money if you don't need to? Anyway, it continues. Follow the money. Today, everyone, even producers and producers' spouses, want a stylist for a big awards event, and agencies like the Wall Group, owned by Endeavor, have a deep enough roster of people to help them get dressed. It used to be that the studios would pony up. These days, however, the studios only have budgets for the biggest films and biggest stars. More often than not, the talent has to pay for the glam team out of his or own pocket, something most working actors cannot afford or probably don't want to, or the brand needs to pay the fee. It's a push-pull between the brands, with actors and representatives negotiate the deals. Often stylists are the last priority, so they can resort to some pretty questionable behaviors. Many big brands, both fashion and fine jewelers, put stylists on a financial retainers, say $250,000 a year, so that their products get prioritized. Stylists often keep their agreements hidden from their clients, and it can create a tension if the client finds out. This is really, really weird, because this also means that if you hire a stylist and an actor and they're on a retainer to like Balenciaga, they may be more prone or more incentivized to recommend Balenciaga clothes to you, even though it doesn't work for you or you don't like the clothing, because they're getting paid by the brand to, you know what I mean? It's not a conflict of interest, but it doesn't actually give you the hope or the satisfaction that they're picking out the best stuff for you. They're just picking up the stuff that people are paying for to get in front of you, because you're the one person they can get the clothes in front of them too, right? Anyway, another popular thing is to do a slip the bill for the styling fee to the brand at the last minute, even after the event, so that they have no choice but to pay up. Someone like Roach can receive $30,000 for one major look. Oh, that's interesting. That's really underhand. Roach made a name for himself by taking a page out of Zoe's self-branding playbook and being the first black stylist to do so. But he's not as well liked as she once was. Over the years, he has been accused of behind the scenes of many of the worst fashion offenses. He's been described as enthusiastically as difficult and defensive by many of designers and VIP publicists I caught up with after his announcement. They said that they often made things more difficult for himself than those working for him. Absolute piece of shit. And again, this is why I think it's important to say this thing, because I feel like in general, people's bad behaviors can generally be called out, especially if you think they're doing good work. It should be called out so that they can change. I feel like people kind of excuse people's bad behavior because they're good at what they do or because they're talented. It eventually creates a monster, and usually those monsters end up doing things that affect a large number of people. And I think most of the things could be avoided if someone just was willing to be brave enough to step up and say, hey, you're being a bit of a prick, you're being a bit of a diva, you're being a little bit, up your own ass, whatever it may be. Can you chill? Can you relax? People don't feel good, whatever it may be. That needs to be said, you would imagine. But, everyone's too scared and wants to protect their flipping spot. Article continues. At the same time, they still feel like they need him. His proximity to Zendaya made him too powerful to push back against, and many emphasize of his personal struggle as a black person who came from a low-income background and managed to rise up for the ranks of this weird little pocket of fashion where, to be clear, you need to be difficult in order to navigate all the hard, sharp elbows thrown your way. So essentially, the thing that probably allowed him to probably step into the industry, right? Being black and being one of the only black people in the industry, with a certain taste level and a certain ability, I'm sure he was maybe afforded some opportunities based on that. Is also the one thing people are scared about, because they don't want to look like they're being racist by pointing out that he's being a prick because he's one of the only few high profile black celebrity stylists out there. I'm sure he knew that also. I'm sure he knew he could get away with way more because of that. Like, that's where all that flipping stuff kind of it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it, in one way. You want to make sure that you have some level of representation in the industry and whatnot, but then some people end up taking that representation and using it legitimately like a sword, like a shield, or whatever it may be, to do whatever they need to do. It continues. Not being rich and white poses challenges in every part of the fashion industry, but particularly in the realm of celebrity styling, stylists are perpetually in a state of uncomfortable fashion limbo. Their need to be near the stars forces them to live in Los Angeles, which the Paris and New York people view as tacky. And yet those Paris and New York people still need their looks and connections. Other than Kate Young, who came up in a traditional fashion editorial and was Anna Wintour's assistant at one point, I can't think of another celebrity stylist deeply embedded in the traditional fashion world. Shirley Kurata, maybe, because she's cool, and up and coming like Daniel Goldberg, again cool. Most of them, though, aren't part of fashion's inner circle. And that's really true too. I've always wondered. There's this other lady too, I remember, I forgot her name. I think it's that Riley. I forgot, is it Riley or Neve? I forgot her name. But it's this one lady who's American who styles Hailey Bieber, and I think also styles Justin Bieber. But Hailey Bieber specifically because she's kind of well liked online, and a lot of people think she has really good style and she wears cool outfits and shit, right? And for me, the one thing that's really interesting is I feel like even though she's American and obviously a big star, Hailey Bieber, in her own right, and famous and stuff, it's weird because there's a real disconnect between her and kind of big European brands. Whereas I feel like she does shift more product than probably the stuff that they do themselves in-house. Like if, let's say Balenciaga, if she's kind of dressed head to toe in Balenciaga, I'd imagine whatever she's wearing that girls like online and see her wearing, that will probably end up selling out way more because she's wearing it than it would do some random person. But then she's not really in the inner circle of fashion people. Same thing could be said for the stylist. they're not kind of embraced. It's kind of a weird industry. It's like they kind of live in America, they pull their looks from brands in Europe and give them to, you know, American celebrities to wear, but then the European people kind of look down on them and kind of think they're a bit corny. Weird. Roach may be a victim of industrial snobbery, but he's also got haters closer to the ground. Many of his predecessors, bitter from losing clients to young, cheaper stylists, resent Roach and the attention he brings to himself, scoffing at his trademarking of the highfalutin term image architect. That's like in DJing. In the DJing world, there are people out there who call themselves selectors or crate diggers and stuff. It's like, ugh. Like, get over yourself. It's DJ. Essentially, you're like a human jukebox, basically, with taste. But that's it. You know, selector. It's a stylist. No, I'm an image architect. I think another one is, I think photographer's like an image maker. It's like, come on, get over yourself. Anyway, it continues. Annoyed by the fact that he wants to be treated like a talent when he is in reality support staff. Styling might require skill, but in the end, it's a service job. Brutal. If the history of any indication, it's unlikely that Roach will be able to turn this brand building exercise into a long-term business. And how long will he remain in such a powerful position will depend on whether he can maintain a relationship with Zendaya and build new ones. Because the tide is changing once again with a new crop of stylists willing to work cheaper and with the smile rising up. Yo, that's a mad bitchy way to end it. But it has got me thinking in general about that quote I always mention about Joey Diaz, where he said to flipping Lee Sayat, oh, the reason why I didn't want to help him was because he didn't want Lee Sayat to basically be hanging around with Joey Diaz and Bill Burr and all these other big comics and think he's made it. He needs to be kind of hanging around with people on his own level. And I think in general, right, I honestly think, oh, thank you, Uche, you're amazing. I don't think I'd be good. I don't think I have the patience. I think I can, I can throw out your recommendations to people in comments, but I think in real life, I wouldn't have the patience to be a good stylist. I think you have to be, it's probably like being a good psychologist or something, right? Someone psychiatrist probably, I think. You kind of have the ability to kind of have that nurturing, caring bit about you also, and just be somebody's shoulder to cry on. I don't think I can do that in real life, personally. I'd get probably annoyed, but yeah, big up to you. I'm wondering overall if that's probably half of the issue with Lil Roach might be that he has been hanging around too much with Zendaya. And I wonder if that's actually a thing also. If you're working in an industry or you have a friend that's really famous or a client that's really famous, it can be difficult to know what your position and to know where you stand because you're around this famous person and you sometimes start to believe the gas that you're also as famous as them when you're clearly not. That could be a bit of an issue also. He just can't, because he's been around her for so long, he legitimately thinks he's as famous as her when he's not. I don't know. Maybe that's a fact. Maybe it isn't, but I thought that article from that lady was absolutely brutal. She tore him apart, tore him an absolute new one, and he's probably still recovering from it till this day. He's probably still recovering from it till this day. Moving on from that one, let's talk about this quickly. This is an interesting one, courtesy of Daily Mail, and it features this crazy article about guys out there deciding to get flipping ab etching done. Imagine how crazy of a dude you have to be to kind of get ab etching done. Just imagine. But it seems to be very popular. It seems to be very, very, very popular, and it's got me wondering what sort of cosmetic surgery would I be willing to do? And I don't think there's many, to be fair. I think I mentioned it before. The most thing I'd be willing to do is the flipping Turkish teeth. But I think after hearing countless people who have Turkish teeth have that weird lisp and whistle thing when they're talking, and having many people in my comments basically tell me don't get it, you're better off getting Invisalign and actually, sorting out your actual teeth than going and getting these fake ones put in. I don't think there's anything else I'd want to do, personally. Even if I had no hair, I don't think I'd go to Turkey to get my hair done. I'll just have it bald and live the DMX life. It's not that deep for me in the slightest. Even though I grow my hair and don't cut it often, I wouldn't be that bothered if it kind of all fell out and I just had a baldy. It's not that big of a deal. And I think when it comes to body stuff, I'd much rather, because I think it's just a person thing. There are people out there who want shortcuts or who would like help. I just like suffering. I think that's the main thing. I just like suffering and I like punishing myself. So I don't think I could ever be in a position where I could justify getting ab implants, because I just rather suffer and punish myself in the gym to try to get it done. It probably, you know what I mean? It would be hard, but I would definitely do that more so than take a shortcut. I just won't want to do it. I just have too much pride, I guess, to do it that way. Maybe. But I don't see anything wrong with it if people want to get it done. I just think it's a really funny thing that people are doing, because it also shows that despite things like Ozempic existing, right, the drug that everyone's taking now, where essentially the drug, I think it's meant for people that have diabetes or something, but essentially the drug, what it does is that it makes food not tasty, or it makes you feel really full, one or the other, which obviously helps you not eat that much, so you can essentially have the weight kind of fall off. So even with those drugs that exist, people still want to get work done. Like that drug is giving you a bit of a head start to kind of get the weight off, you know, in a really drastic way to begin with. You're not eating too much, but still that's not enough for some people. They need to tuck, they need this, and need that. So this article, anyway, courtesy of Daily Mail, speaks about it. It says, exclusive, America's booming secret male plastic surgery industry revealed. 1.3 million men in America are getting BBLs, lipo and ab implants that cost up to $4,000 each year in what has been dubbed the daddy do-over, which is hilarious. And what's funny about this is that 1.3 million means that most likely these are not all gay men. It's just impossible. The numbers don't back it up. So anybody thinking it's just gay men getting it done, it's not. So there are many straight guys out there who are getting BBLs just because they feel like their bum is too small, or because it's too fat, or it's too flat, sorry. Imagine that. That's funny. Because it'd be something you'd assume that most gay guys would get done. But I can imagine just like a regular dude who plays football on the weekends with his mates is deciding, you know what, I don't like the way my bum looks in shorts. I need some more bounce in there. Anyway, it continues. Article courtesy of Daily Mail. Let me pause this fucking annoying autoplay video that always does on there. It says, there's been a silent surge in male plastic surgeries over the last 20 years in what some experts have dubbed the daddy do-over trend. Figures in American Society of Plastic Surgery suggest that 1.3 million men in the US are going under the knife each year for lipo, nose jobs, breast reduction, and even Brazilian butt lifts. Social media is awash with rumors of celebrities like Liam Payne and Simon Cowell getting face tweaks. I don't think it's a rumor about Simon Cowell. I think he said it, but few famous men have publicly admitted to having surgery. I think the other one as well that people always say is Drake. They say Drake got ab etching done, which may be a thing, who knows? But I think Drake was smart also. He may have got what he got done, but he also worked out a bunch as well. I think that's the best way to do it. You need to kind of, if you're going to get work done, you also need to make some final tweaks yourself on your end, changing your diet, working out a bunch, doing loads of cardio. That definitely is going to be a good combination. But if you just go under the knife to change absolutely everything and do no work, that's when you end up looking crazy. It continues. Dr. Matthew Del Muaro, a plastic surgeon in NYC, told Daily Mail that while many female celebrities proudly flaunt their results of their procedures, the taboo still exists among men. He estimates 15% of patients in his Manhattan clinic are men, and a number that continues to rise. 15%. 15%. Crazy. That's a lot, in it, like way more than you'd imagine. Some men have not been put off by the stigma, however. Last June's Chicago rapper Badman Keva went viral after announcing his plastic surgery. But you can tell, innit? Look at that. He looks like an action man here. He's like pumped up with something. Look how clear that water is. Bloody hell, beautiful. It continues. Look at it. So this is a picture that shows Badman Keva before and after his work. It looks like he got his breast or his male titties got taken in, and obviously he got the stomach etching done also. And I wonder if the implants, because this is etching. I know etching is like where they try and make the abs pop out a little bit, but I wonder with the implants, are they actually putting stuff into your stomach to make it look like you got abs? That's pretty. So what happens when you get fat then? You just have like a fat belly with abs on top of it. That's gonna look crazy. That's him there, looking great. Let's continue. It says the daddy do-over is a play on the term mummy makeover, or a combination of cosmetic procedures to restore a woman's appearance. For men, the goal is to get rid of the dad bod they may have got in the changes of diet or routine become apparent, according to American Society of Plastic Surgery. Procedures aimed at trimming fat, such as liposuction, are staples of the daddy do-over. Keva, who underwent the abdominal waist surgery, shares result on Instagram. He said, I was working out hard and still couldn't lose my stomach fat. That's a lie, by the way. What I don't like is people who lie about their work. If you're going to get your work done, just get it done because you want to get it done. But the lie that people do, like especially women, they love that with the breasts. Oh, my breast because my back was hurting. No, it wasn't. You just want an excuse to get it done. Do you know what I mean? Like, just get it. Like, oh, my nose, I couldn't breathe at night. No, you just wear the smaller nose. Just get it. Just be honest about it. So most people don't work out hard enough or change their diet considerably enough to actually make the necessary changes to lose that stomach fat, because usually stomach fat is usually the most stubborn fat to kind of get rid of. So I don't believe him that he done it as hard as he can. He just couldn't bother to work out, and that's fine. I think it's perfectly fine to say I can't be bothered to work out, so I'd much rather go on a knife. That's okay. Just be honest about it. It continued. Kevo wrote, I was 284 pounds. Now I'm 220, but you still have to work out hard. I had them take fat from everywhere to form my shit. My lower back, oh wow, they took the fat from what other place and put somewhere. I had them take the fat out from my lower back, my legs, everywhere. Was weird about my body because I weighed 284. He received backlash from his fans, but stated that it's a trend that isn't being talked about. Most rappers ain't gonna tell you the source, he said. Kevo is not the only celebrity opting for plastic surgery. In March, expecting that former One Direction star Liam Payne went on a knife, blah 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 blah. Obviously, a Simon Cowell there, and a picture of Liam Payne looks crazy. He looks legitimately crazy. I know the picture on the left of here, he looks more like a baby. And clearly this is taken years before, right? 2015. He was definitely way younger. He's got a bit of the baby fat there. But this face here on the right in 2023 is legit insane. Like, he's got the Johnny Bravo. I mean, whatever he got. Like, that is crazy, the work that he got in there. He legitimately changed the structure of his entire face and got it done. But hey, it kind of is what it is, isn't it? I'm happy that people are doing what they need to be done in order to make themselves happy. And if they are happy, what else could we complain about? What else could we, on the outside, complain about? I don't think anything else. Anyways, that is going to be it from me, actually. It's 2:30 of time that I've kind of put in here. Thank you so much for those of you guys who have tuned in live. It's been a pleasure. Never, ever a chore as per usual. Hopefully, if you've enjoyed the show, you can show me a bit of love by smashing the like button down below if you are watching the live stream. If you're listening to the audio side of this podcast, then you don't need to do that. Just share it. That'd be greatly appreciated. Share it to your family and friends. Let them know that I'm out here doing what I'm doing. That'd be greatly appreciated. And I will, of course, see you guys again very, very soon. And of course, oh yeah, last thing. If you are watching via the audio platform of the show, what you will hear is my tune of the day. Most likely it'll be a song taken from Daniel Caesar's newest album, Never Enough. That'll be playing as an outro for this podcast. So if you definitely want to hear my tune today, then definitely jump over to the audio side and fast forward to the end and you'll hear that. If you're watching via the video side of things, it'll just fade to black. And I'll see you guys again very, 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 very soon. Take care. Be well, everybody. Peace.